Chapter 902, Plenilune. Chapter 902, Plenilune. Jian Wushuang rushed forward, all the while talking to the Gu King telepathically. He had many questions about the Plenilune clan. Gu King, can you tell me, what abilities do the Plenilune clan have? Their strongest ability is recovery. The Gu King didn't conceal anything from him. Their ability to recover is enough to rank top 3 among all the species in this world, including the bloodlines and exotic beasts. And this ability to recover can not only heal physical injuries, it can also cure damage to your mind and even your soul. Most importantly, it can greatly speed up the recovery of spiritual power. A high-level Plenilune with great strength can recover even better. Speed up the recovery of spiritual power? Jian Wushuang repeated, surprised. When he was still in the ancient god clan, he had known that the Plenilunes could cure others. He had no idea that they had the ability to speed up the recovery of spiritual power. Jian Wushuang had cultivated the heavenly creation skill, so his spiritual power could already recover fairly quickly. If he had the extraordinary recovery power of the Plenilune clan, perhaps he would never have to worry about using too much spiritual power. In addition to their great recovery power, the Plenilunes can also fight. Unfortunately, their fighting power is not that strong. But of course, if a Plenilune can continue to grow and metamorphosize into a Plenilune centipede, when he reaches his peak, he will awaken some type of secret skill from within his bloodline. These secret skills are extremely powerful against ancient gods. A Plenilune centipede in his peak? Isn't that what you are? Jian Wushuang smiled. Gu King, you have already awakened the secret skills, right? Yes, I have, the Gu King admitted. It's true I have awakened the skills, but I have no way of using them. Why not? Jian Wushuang was confused. Jian Wushuang, I once told you that the Plenilune attach themselves to the ancient gods, and their abilities depend largely on their masters, the Gu King began. As for me, I am indeed a Plenilune centipede in my peak. If my former master was still alive, I would still be attached to him and I would be able to use my abilities. My power to fight or recover would be quite strong. On hearing this, Jian Wushuang began to think of how huge the Gu King was. Though it is still not clear how powerful the Witch King's recovery ability was in his peak. But with an enormous body like this, Jian Wushuang can imagine how fearful the Witch King used to be. But when I took you as my master and attached myself to you, my powers were greatly weakened, because you are just a one-star ancient god, the Gu King said seriously. Jian Wushuang didn't know what to say. A one-star ancient god was the lowest level of ancient gods, and was the weakest among them. And now just because of him, the Gu King's power had decreased. The one-star ancient god is at bottom level of the ancient god. Now I life in your body, of course my power has descended to the bottom as well. Let's put the recovery ability aside and talk about fighting power. I'm only capable of fighting against the weakest human Dao master, and may lose if I encounter someone with greater strength. That's because my master and I have gone through many great dangers, and also thanks to my killing secret skill. Otherwise, I wouldn't even be able to fight against Eternal Realm elites. The Gu King spoke with a hint of criticism. Is that so? Jian Wushuang made a wry smile. The Gu King must have been a true horror. Just the sight of his immense body, and a Dao master in the eternal world would be terrified. When Jian Wushuang heard that the Gu King was going to make him his master, he was indeed delighted. After all, the Gu King had remarkable strength, and could help him when there was danger. But now, knowing that the Gu King's strength was reduced, and that he could only fight the weakest Dao masters, and that it was because of him, he inevitably felt a little disappointed. Well, it's not that bad. After all, he still has the strength of a Dao master, and his recovery skill will be of great help. Jian Wushuang smiled to himself. One more thing, Gu King. The essence blood of your former master is now inside me. What should I do to absorb it? Jian Wushuang asked. Simple. Just wait. It takes a lot of time to absorb and transfer the power inside the essence blood, the Gu King answered. That's all I can do? Is there any way to speed it up a bit? Or can I try to absorb it all in one go? Jian Wushuang questioned. Ho ho, I suppose that would be fine if you think your life is too long. The Gu King snorted. Don't you forget, Jian Wushuang, you are only a one-star ancient god. Even if you can make a breakthrough, you will only become a two-star ancient god. The essence blood that my former master left possesses too much power, more than you could imagine. And you wish to absorb it all in one breath? Let me tell you something, if you attempt to do so, you may not survive. Even if you made it, such great power would not be absorbed properly. About 99% of it would be completely wasted. You would just ruin the essence blood my master spent great effort gathering. If you dare to do so, I will never forgive you. Jian Wushuang made an awkward smile. He had only been curious. He hadn't been expecting an answer like this. The inheritance essence blood my master left to you requires a long time to take in slowly. I can assure you that if you do so, you will be an elite expert in 100,000 years. You may not be able to reach the level of my master, but you are more than capable of becoming an overlord. Only a fool would do something like absorbing all the power at once. Well, there is one condition in which someone can take in all the power, the Gu King suddenly said. And that is? Jian Wushuang asked immediately. You would have to abandon everything you have for a slight chance of surviving this predicament, the Gu King told him with a firm voice. Jian Wushuang felt shock in his heart when he heard this. It was at this time that a loud sound spread out from the void ahead. Is someone there? Jian Wushuang frowned. Then he smiled. He flew quickly towards the sound. Chapter 903, The Blood Clothing Sect. Chapter 903, The Blood Clothing Sect. In the vast void, a large team was moving forward slowly. This team was made up almost entirely of people wearing fearsome scarlet armor. There were about 100 of them. Among these people were dozens of young men and women. Move faster. Faster now. Crack, crack. The whips slashed heavily. The leader of the men in scarlet armor was a bald man. He had a savage look and held a serpent-like whip in his hand. Father! Little Wei! Crying and murmuring could be heard from the young people. Among the crowd, there was a young man in a shabby cloth made of animal fur. He had a dirty face and was holding a little girl in his arms. He may have been young, but his aura indicated that he had clearly reached the level of divine realm expert. The eternal world provided the perfect environment for cultivation. That is why there were countless geniuses, and this young man was one of them. Xiao Yin. The young man holding the girl had bright eyes, and they expressed his desire to live. He said in a gentle voice, Sister, I promise you will survive. The girl's body trembled slightly. Are we going to die, brother? The girl asked. This is the Blood Clothing Sect. I heard that when captured by these people, only 1 out of 10 will survive at most. The young man's face was pale as death. The Blood Clothing Sect was a notorious force in this territory. They had only one method of gathering disciples. They looked for talented experts within an area and killed all of their relatives so they could bring the young men back by force. After that, these young people would go through a bloody baptism. The bloody baptism was actually an elimination game to knock out 9 people from 10. Only the best could become disciples of the Blood Clothing Sect. Their way of picking disciples was truly far too cruel. But their cruel methods provided them with strong disciples. And the Blood Clothing Sect had expanded that way. They were strong enough to rank top 5 in this territory. The leader of the Blood Clothing Sect was so powerful that he was at the top of the eternal realm. It was said that he and the other 2 Dao masters were in a close relationship. That is why, despite their notorious fame, no one dared to stand against them all these years. Don't worry, Xiao Yin. I will protect you. The young man hugged his sister with tears on his face. Suddenly, whoosh! Suddenly a man appeared in front of the crowd. All the men from the Blood Clothing Sect stopped at once. Who do you think you are to stop the way of the Blood Clothing Sect? Their bald leader spoke with a rather cold voice as he looked over with a whip in his hand. The Blood Clothing Sect had always acted in a tyrannous manner, and so had its members. The Blood Clothing Sect? Jian Wushuang wasn't familiar with this name at all, but he kept an eye on the looks of the young men. I see they are doing some dirty business here, but not bothering to hide it. They even told me their name. It looks like this blood-clothing sect is quite strong and famous here. Jian Wushuang thought to himself. He raised his head. I want to ask for directions and I was hoping you would tell me. Jian Wushuang's voice was somehow chilly. Ask for directions? The bald man laughed. You are the first one to be brave enough to ask the blood-clothing sect for directions in this whole area. Judging by your looks, you are still young, but you've reached the level of the eternal realm. Seems like you are a genius. We're going to have to take you with us too. Let's go, brothers. The members of the sect showed their excitement, rushing toward Jian Wushuang together. The coldness in Jian Wushuang's eyes sparkled. Immaterial sword shadows appeared before him. The sword essence may have seemed minuscule, but it emitted strong power. All the sword shadows shot forward. It was just like thunder and lightning. Jian Wushuang had a battle strength at the legendary 7th level. He could even fight a few rounds with a decent Dao master. It was way too easy for him to deal with divine or eternal realm experts. The sword shadows cut through the void, into the bodies of the blood-clothing sect members, leaving them no chance to counter. In a mere second, hundreds were killed. The only one to survive was the bald man. As for the young men and women in the center, they were unharmed. Well, the bald man was greatly shocked. Even a stupid man like him could not fail to realize that he had encountered a real expert, someone capable of killing him 1,000 times in less than a minute. Please, sir, ask me anything and I will tell everything I know. The bald man kneeled on the ground and looked at Jian Wushuang with terror in his eyes. Tell me, which territory is this? Asked Jian Wushuang. This is Python territory, he answered. Jian Wushuang took out his map and began to study it. Python territory is here. Jian Wushuang looked at a point on his map. Python territory was fairly close to the stellar fog sea but far away from the Tang of the East. If I start from the Python territory, it will take me more than 100 years to reach the Tang of the East on foot. It seems I have no other choice but to go to the Void Temple and find a wormhole, Jian Wushuang murmured to himself. Then he asked, is there a Void Temple somewhere nearby? Void Temple? What is a Void Temple? The bald man was confused. You have no idea? Jian Wushuang asked, but then felt relieved. He was only in the 4th step of the Eternal Realm. He might have never had a chance to wander from the Python territory. It was reasonable that he had never heard of a Void Temple. Sir, I have never heard of such a thing as a Void Temple. But the leader of the blood-clothing sect is knowledgeable. He even has a good relationship with the 2 Dao masters in this territory. Surely he has heard of it. The leader. Jian Wushuang frowned. A cold smile spread on his face. Chapter 904, Lift a Finger. Chapter 904, Lift a Finger. You, come with me. Jian Wushuang ordered, looking down at the bald man who was kneeling in front of him. He glanced at the young men and women behind him and said to them, as for you, go back where you came from and be careful not to get caught again. As soon as he had said this, Jian Wushuang took the bald man in one hand and set off, leaving the young men and women and the dead bodies behind. Dead, my brother, the devils from the blood-clothing sect are all dead, said the little girl who was being held by her brother. Yes, they are all dead, a dirty young man wrapped in an animal skin said. His eyes were shining. It was that man, the Lord, who killed them. He killed all the devils from the blood-clothing sect in seconds. What a top-notch expert. And it appears that he is going looking for trouble with the master of the blood-clothing sect. The master of the blood-clothing sect? The demon? The girl was stunned. I hope the Lord can kill the demon. The man clenched his hands and picked up the little girl. Little Een, let's get out of here quickly. Soon, the young men and women who had been saved by Jian Wushuang all left. They had thought they had no chance of surviving under the hands of the blood-clothing sect, but they had been extremely fortunate. Jian Wushuang had happened to cross their path and save them. Jian Wushuang grasped the bald man from the blood-clothing sect, who guided him toward the sect's lair. On the way, he asked some basic information about the blood clothing sect and the strength of their master. Top of the 6 steps of the eternal realm? Jian Wushuang thought with a slight smile. He didn't mind that. He didn't attach much importance to anyone below the level of Tao Master. My lord, here we are, the bald man said in horror. Jian Wushuang stopped and looked at the huge rift in front of him. There were a few palaces and pavilions within, and it was protected by a formation with a blood-red light. It was clear that this was the lair of a sect. This is the lair of the blood clothing sect, and it has a protective array. But the protective array can only stop people in the eternal realm, Jian Wushuang thought. He smiled faintly with a sharp flash in his eyes. Siege. A sharp sword slipped past the bald man's neck. Jian Wushuang killed him. The bald man had thought that Jian Wushuang would keep him alive if he followed his instructions. But Jian Wushuang had had no intention of keeping him alive. He knew how the blood clothing sect did things and had seen how he treated the young men and women. Jian Wushuang continued moving closer toward the blood clothing sect's lair. As soon as he appeared in the void above the rift, he set off the protective array. But he simply waved a ray of sword light and tore a hole in it easily. He rushed into the rift through the hole. In a grand palace, in the very center of the blood clothing sect's lair. In 3 months, the next bloody baptism will be carried out. Is everything we need ready? How about the little guys? The master of the blood clothing sect asked coldly. He was a young man with a red sword scar between his eyebrows. He was wearing a scarlet robe. Below him were several higher-level experts, the elders of the blood clothing sect. At this time, wait, the master and the elders were startled. They were all clearly aware that someone had just torn a hole in the protective array. Someone's breaking in, one of the elders said, standing up. But Jian Wushuang didn't wait for them to react. Swoosh! A figure had appeared in the palace like a ghost. Everyone in the palace stared at the newcomer. You're the master of the blood clothing sect, aren't you? Jian Wushuang questioned with a slight smile. He was looking up at the man at the top of the palace. Who are you? The master of the blood clothing sect asked with a cold expression. He could tell that the man in front of him was extraordinary. Anyone who could tear the blood clothing sect's protective array so easily and break into the palace was either a Tao master or at the top of the eternal realm. The blood clothing sect did not want to provoke such a man. There is no need for you to know who I am. I am just here to ask something. And to clean this place out, Jian Wushuang said. His figure floated out. Damn. You are looking for death. Kill him. The blood clothing sect members became angry and attacked Jian Wushuang together. However, Jian Wushuang was powerful. No matter how many Eternal Realm experts joined the fight, they were just going to get slaughtered by him. Within a moment, the palace was completely quiet. Jian Wushuang waved his sword and cut the blood clothing sect master's head off. The Void Temple subsidiary palace isn't far from here? Jian Wushuang thought with a smile. He had gotten his answer from the master of the blood clothing sect, so he left immediately. When he left, he even destroyed the lair, splitting it in half. Jian Wushuang, the blood clothing sect has no enmity toward you, and the master answered your question honestly. Why did you kill him and destroy the blood clothing sect? You should know that the master of the blood clothing sect has a good relationship with the 2 Tao masters in this territory, the Gu King asked Jian Wushuang. The blood clothing sect has a horrible reputation. Their way of doing things is extremely vicious and cruel. Destroying this kind of sect is not a bad thing. Besides, it's so easy, Jian Wushuang answered. It seems that you are quite righteous. But I have to remind you, in this world, if you want to live long, you should keep as far away as you can from unnecessary troubles that have nothing to do with you, the Gu King said with a sad tone. My last host, King Luozhen, just died because he wanted to deal with troubles that had nothing to do with him. Really? Jian Wushuang nodded his head with a smile. Don't worry, if I wasn't able to measure danger, I wouldn't have been able to get out from the ancient world to where I am now. That's good. The Gu King responded and said no more. Jian Wushuang went directly to the Void Temple subsidiary palace. When he arrived, he took out his master's senior brother Xuelingtian's token to open the space wormhole. With the space wormhole, Jian Wushuang quickly returned to the territory of the Tang of the East. Chapter 905 Accidents. Chapter 905 Accident. Tang of the East, the Imperial Palace. As the capital of the Tang of the East, the Imperial Palace was extremely large and prosperous. It was filled with a sea of people. Finally home. Jian Wushuang stood on the street breathing in the air of the Imperial Palace. His mood was complicated. More than 200 years ago, 4 three-clawed Blood Eagle guards, Jiaozi, Ling Long, Shui Jin and himself had accepted the hell-level task to the extremely dangerous stellar fog sea. 200 years later, he was the only one to have survived. 200 years have passed. What about the icy heart poison in Leng Rushuang's body? Jian Wushuang thought worriedly. But at this moment... What? Jian Wushuang felt an unusual energy in the Imperial Palace. On the street, Royal Guard soldiers in gold armor were everywhere. Jian Wushuang also perceived some concealed and tyrannical auras hidden in the dark. Did something happen? Jian Wushuang wondered. He wrinkled his eyebrows slightly. He hadn't been to the Imperial Palace in 200 years. Though heavily guarded at the time, it was far less compared to now. Jian Wushuang also discovered there were more experts in the Imperial Palace than before. Did something happen? Confused, Jian Wushuang took out a message token. This message token was used to connect with Wang Yuan. Elder brother Wang Yuan, I'm back. The message was quite simple. Jian Wushuang got the reply only a moment later. A third brother, you've finally returned. Over the past 200 years, I worried about you all the time. It made me lose a lot of weight, Wang Yuan said happily. Don't brag, I think you are much fatter than before, Jian Wushuang said jokingly but then asked Wang Yuan seriously, Elder brother Wang Yuan, did something happen in the Imperial Palace? You already know that? Wang Yuan said with a smile, well, it's not a big deal. In 3 years, there will be a selection ceremony. A selection ceremony? Jian Wushuang repeated. He was shocked at first, then without thinking he mumbled, what is the selection ceremony? For whom? Of course, it's for the princess of the Tang of the East, Leng Rushuang. Who else's selection ceremony could attract so many experts? Wang Yuan said. Hearing this, Jian Wushuang's mood suddenly darkened. Selection ceremony. A selection ceremony for Leng Rushuang. Jian Wushuang had risked his life to find the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit in the stellar fog sea in order to save Leng Rushuang from poison. He had narrowly escaped from the stellar fog sea and brought the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit back. And here Leng Rushuang had been fine all along, even holding a selection ceremony to select a husband. Leng Rushuang, Jian Wushuang pondered a moment. No, with Leng Rushuang's temper, even if she hadn't been poisoned, she would never hold a selection ceremony, let alone the fact she was deeply poisoned and didn't have much time left to live. The selection ceremony must have been arranged by Empress Leng. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and said, Elder brother Wang Yuan, I will come to you now. Okay, Wang Yuan replied. Soon, Jian Wushuang arrived at Wang Yuan's mansion. As the chief alchemist in the Tang of the East, Wang Yuan got to live in a huge mansion in the Imperial Palace. There was a dim secret chamber shielded by a restriction. The restriction was to prevent someone from breaking into the secret chamber or hearing the conversation inside. Now, there were only 2 people in the secret chamber, Jian Wushuang and Wang Yuan. A third brother, I knew you'd eventually make it out from the stellar fog siege. Wang Yuan looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. When Jian Wushuang entered the stellar fog sea, he'd been really worried about him. Now that Jian Wushuang was in front of him, he was extremely relieved. Elder brother Wang Yuan, tell me about the selection ceremony, Jian Wushuang said very seriously. He was in no mood to make a joke. We all know what kind of condition Leng Rushuang is in. If I fail to get the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit to refine the crepe myrtle elixir, she won't live more than 300 years. 200 have already passed, that means she can only live another 100 years at most. Why are they holding the selection ceremony now? Jian Wushuang asked in confusion. Leng Rushuang was about to die. Why did Emperor Leng want to hold a selection ceremony for her? Selection ceremony? Hee, Wang Yuan said with a sneer. Third brother, the selection ceremony is actually a way for the Tang of the East to make alliances with the Xia clan through marriage. Marriage? The Tang of the East with the Xia clan? Jian Wushuang was grave. When he had been on the Circus Island, he'd once heard from Lin Wanner that the first master of the Xia clan had been recognized as the son-in-law of the Tang of the East for a long time. However, that was talk. It hadn't been realized after all. But now, this marriage. Does Leng Rushuang agree? Jian Wushuang asked in a low voice. This issue was of great significance. If Leng Rushuang had agreed, it was a marriage of her own free will, something no one could prevent, not even Jian Wushuang. But if Leng Rushuang had not agreed, it was different. Agree? Wang Yuan said with a smile. If Leng Rushuang was willing to agree, then there wouldn't be a selection ceremony in 3 years, it would be a wedding. But it's strange. According to what I heard in the palace, when Empress Leng proposed that she marry the Xia clan, Leng Rushuang refused directly. But when Empress Leng proposed holding the selection ceremony, she didn't object. Third brother, you should know that the master of the Xia clan has been called the top genius of the eternal world, and he is at the top of the eternal realm. He is the true chosen one. Wang Yuan said with a smile. Everyone thinks he is the only one worthy of Leng Rushuang. Besides, who could possibly defeat him at the selection ceremony? So, almost everyone recognizes the selection ceremony as the marriage. Many believe that no matter what happens, Leng Rushuang will marry the master of the Xia clan. Of course, people have come to this conclusion because they don't know you, my third brother. If you join in the selection ceremony, the result might be different. Wang Yuan paused and looked at Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang looked incredibly confused. He had heard what Wang Yuan said. She refused the marriage but didn't refuse the selection ceremony. Why she didn't refuse the selection ceremony? Was she hoping someone could beat the master of the Xia clan at the selection ceremony and marry her? Who is the person she wants? Is it me? Chapter 906, The Answer. Chapter 906, The Answer. Is it me? Jian Wushuang asked himself. He didn't know. Third brother, will you participate in the selection ceremony in 3 years' time? Wang Yuan asked Jian Wushuang with interest. Jian Wushuang fixed his eyes slightly, pondered for a while, then nodded heavily. I will. Wang Yuan laughed. Third brother, it seems that I am right. You really do like Leng Rushuang, otherwise you would never have taken such a risk to find the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit in the stellar fog sea. Tell me, when did you become interested in Leng Rushuang? Wang Yuan turned his gaze, looking forward to Jian Wushuang's answer. Jian Wushuang put on a bitter smile, but his eyes became blurry. Leng Rushuang. As early as the first time he had seen her in the ancient world, the cold pride in Leng Rushuang's bones had made him throb slightly. This kind of throb spread slowly in his body like a spider web. The next month when Jian Wushuang was living in the nature residence, Leng Rushuang had played the Chinese zither every day. Jian Wushuang had practiced his swordsmanship to this melody. For Jian Wushuang, it could be said that this had been his most relaxing month. Although he had not seen Leng Rushuang for a long time after that, she was still on his mind, leaving a very deep memory that could never be erased. Have I really fallen in love with Leng Rushuang? Jian Wushuang asked himself. Yes, I have. Jian Wushuang confirmed the answer in his heart. He felt good around her. From the beginning of his cultivation, step by step, he had been surrounded by countless women of varied character. However, the only one who stayed in his heart forever was Leng Rushuang. This feeling could not be wrong. As early as in the ancient world, as early as in the nature residence, Jian Wushuang had already loved her. After so many years had passed, the impression Leng Rushuang left in Jian Wushuang's heart had not weakened. It had become even stronger. When he saw her afflicted with the icy heart poison, Jian Wushuang had also felt a piercing pain in his heart. When Jian Wushuang learned that the yin-yang dragon phoenix fruit could stop the poison, he had broken into the stellar fog sea without hesitation. Perhaps he could not treat this love like Jiao Zue did, asking for nothing in return, without any selfishness, only pure love. But true love was give and receive. Jian Wushuang took a deep breath, looked at Wang Yuan and asked, "Elder brother Wang Yuan, if I go to the palace, can I see her?" "You can't," Wang Yuan answered, shaking his head. Ever since the selection ceremony was announced, Empress Ling has blocked all outside connections. No matter who it is, if they want to see her, they have to get Empress Ling's personal approval. "Really?" Jian Wushuang wrinkled his eyebrows. "Actually, I really admire the Empress for being so sultry and heartless," Wang Yuan said in an appreciative tone. "She is the one who knows Lung Rushuang's condition best. However, at this point, instead of trying to find a way to save her life, she is squeezing out the last bit of her daughter's value by making her marry the Xia clan to achieve her purpose. Lung Rushuang is unfortunate to have such a mother." "Lung Rushuang is being used as a chip?" Jian Wushuang said. His eyes turned cold. Jian Wushuang had seen so much during these years that he could extrapolate many things from Wang Yuan's words. "It appears I need to meet Master Mubai of the Xia clan and Empress Ling," Jian Wushuang said in a cold voice. Then he took out the yin-yang dragon phoenix fruit and handed it to Wang Yuan. "Elder brother Wang Yuan, this is the yin-yang dragon phoenix fruit I brought back from the stellar fog sea. As for the crepe myrtle elixir, I'm counting on you." "The yin-yang dragon phoenix fruit? You really got it?" Wang Yuan said with a surprised smile. He nodded heavily. "Don't worry, with the yin-yang dragon phoenix fruit, I can guarantee that the crepe myrtle elixir can be refined within 3 months. When you join in the selection ceremony in 3 years' time, you will have to prepare a few wedding gifts. The crepe myrtle elixir is unique and would have a great effect on Lung Rushuang. It's absolutely appropriate to be one of the wedding gifts." "Wedding gifts?" Jian Wushuang repeated with a silent smile. "By the way, I have a few things to show you." Jian Wushuang took out the 5 Bodhi fruits he'd been given by Lord Spirit Sound. "This is..." Wang Yuan stared at the Bodhi fruit in Jian Wushuang's hands, and a light suddenly flashed in his eyes. "The Bodhi fruit, this is the Bodhi fruit. You know it?" Jian Wushuang asked with a smile. "Of course I know the Bodhi fruit. The Bodhi fruit is known to almost every alchemist who has attained certain accomplishments in refining elixirs." Wang Yuan said in an excited voice, "The Bodhi fruit is the most important material in refining the legendary elixir, Bodhi Dan. Countless top-class alchemists dream of obtaining a Bodhi fruit in order to refine the legendary elixir. Unfortunately, the Bodhi fruit hasn't been seen in the eternal world for a long time. The last Bodhi fruit was found 5 million years ago. Third brother, how did you get 5 Bodhi fruits? Please don't ask me about the source of the Bodhi fruit. Just tell me whether you can refine the Bodhi Dan with them," Jian Wushuang said. "Refine the Bodhi Dan?" Wang Yuan had a bitter smile. "Third brother, I have been studying with the master and I've improved a lot in my refining elixir skill. I can barely take a seat as one of the chief alchemists in the Tang of the East, but when it comes to refining the Bodhi Dan. The Bodhi Dan is a legendary elixir that gives someone a 90% chance of breaking through from the eternal realm to Tao Master. In the whole eternal world, there can't be more than 3 alchemists who can refine this kind of elixir. I don't have the ability yet. But don't worry, my master can refine it. I'll give my master a message to ask him to refine the Bodhi Dan immediately. This is a once-in-a-blue-moon opportunity that he certainly won't refuse. With his ability, 5 Bodhi fruits can be refined into 4 Bodhi Dan at least." "Your master?" Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. "Please send my appreciation to him. If he needs any special materials, just tell me. I will collect them as soon as possible. The only requirement is to make sure to refine the Bodhi Dan in 3 years." 3 years? Third brother, you want to? Wang Yuan looked at Jian Wushuang. "Didn't you say I should prepare wedding gifts for the selection ceremony? 1 crepe myrtle elixir may be not valuable enough, but if I add 4 Bodhi Dan, allowing the Tang of the East to have 4 more Tao Masters, as wedding gifts, the wedding gifts shouldn't be taken lightly." Jian Wushuang said. Jian Wushuang's eyes were full of brilliance. Chapter 907, One People. Chapter 907, One People. After handing the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit and Bodhi fruit to Wang Yuan, Jian Wushuang immediately found a secret chamber and began a closed-door cultivation. In the secret chamber, he sat cross-legged alone, and his face was unusually serious. In 3 years, the selection ceremony will be held. I'm bound to have a direct conflict with the Xia clan, even Empress Leng. The result of the selection ceremony can't be predicted, and whether I'll survive is unknown. But before the selection ceremony, every improvement I make to my strength will increase my odds. The most important thing right now is to break through to the eternal realm. Jian Wushuang's eyes grew cold. He hadn't been in a hurry to break through before. But now everything was different. After all, he only had 3 years to prepare. In 3 years, he might have to face Empress Leng and the Xia clan, both huge forces. Let's get started. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes and began to accumulate spiritual power. He had already reached the requirements to break through and realized the World Dao and the Slaughter Dao at the 9th level occult. Everything was ready. The next thing he had to do was accumulate spiritual power to break through the bottleneck in his body. In the secret chamber, time passed. While Jian Wushuang was in the closed-door cultivation, Leng Rushuang was staying in the farthest end of the palace of the Tang of the East. She lived in a courtyard enclosed completely by restriction. She sat quietly, indifferent as usual, looking like a fairy. Her face was paler than it had been 200 years ago. A beautiful, enchanting figure was slowly making its way over. "Your Majesty." The maidservants saluted respectfully at once. Leng Rushuang, however, was indifferent. "All of you can leave." Empress Leng waved her sleeves and the maidservants left. Only Empress Leng and Leng Rushuang remained. In 3 years, the selection ceremony will begin. Everything has been prepared for you already, except yourself, Empress Leng said coldly. "It doesn't matter whether I'm ready or not, does it?" Leng Rushuang said. The Empress glared at her and said in a low voice, "You should have been married to the Xia clan 1,000 years ago. I have tolerated you for 1,000 years, and that's more than enough, not to mention that I'm not forcing you to marry the Xia clan now. Instead, I'm holding a selection ceremony for you to choose the best young man to be your husband. What on earth do you have to complain about?" "I'm not unsatisfied. I just hope that at the selection ceremony, you, my mother, can choose my husband according to the rules of the ceremony," Leng Rushuang said indifferently. "Nonsense. We are inviting all the experts from the many different forces of the eternal world. How can I back out in front of so many people? But you are the one that should follow your words. I'm afraid that the final winner will be the master of the Xia clan, and you cannot refuse to marry at that time," Empress Leng said. "Don't worry, if he wins at the selection ceremony, I will marry him," Leng Rushuang said. "Good," Empress Leng nodded. But the next moment she said in a soft voice, "Shuanger, I'm doing this for you. The master of the Xia clan, his character, appearance and talent strength, is the best in the eternal world, almost flawless. Why does such a husband not deserve you? As for the poison in your body, although we couldn't find the Yin-Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit to refine the crepe myrtle elixir, I have sent people to find other elixirs to suppress the poison. You can rest assured. And as long as my plan with the National Master is realized, I can reach a new level and help you quite easily. At that time, if you think that the master of the Xia clan doesn't suit your appetite, just tell me, and I will kill him and destroy the Xia clan. And I won't stop you from choosing someone else to be your husband. However, please tolerate this vexation for now." Tolerate this vexation? Or in other words, you just want to use this marriage to placate the Xia clan and buy time for your and the National Master's plan. "Mother, do you think my father would agree to this?" Leng Rushuang said coldly. "Emperor Shao? Even if he knew, what could he do? Win and you are king, lose and you are the outcast. Now I am the queen of the Tang of the East. The mansion masters of 36 prefectures of the Tang of the East only admire me as the queen. Who cares about Emperor Shao?" Empress Leng said with a sneer, but there is no sense in telling you. Be prepared, 3 years will pass quickly." After saying that, Empress Lung left and disappeared from the courtyard. Lung Rushuang was alone again, sitting in the courtyard. But on her cool face, a complicated emotion had appeared. 3 years, will he come? Lung Wushuang immediately thought of a man. She gathered her consciousness and a figure suddenly appeared next to her. It was a dirty girl in a tattered black coat, with big eyes and a touch of wit on her face. "Shuer, go see that man for me," Lung Rushuang said coldly. "No problem," the dirty girl said, blinking her eyes and nodding. Then she bounced vivaciously out of the courtyard. There was a restriction around the courtyard. No one could go in or out at will. However, the restriction seemed to be of no use to the dirty girl. The palace was guarded heavily and full of experts, but it seemed that no one could see her. The dirty girl bounced and left the courtyard quickly, and then she left the palace. If Jian Wushuang saw the dirty girl, he would recognize her at a glance as someone he had seen in the ancient world, Lung Rushue. She was Lung Rushuang's younger sister. At least, that's what he thought. However, if Jian Wushuang were to have witnessed the scene in the courtyard where Lung Rushue came out from Lung Rushuang's body, he wouldn't think so. Lung Rushuang and Lung Rushue were one person. In the imperial city, Jian Wushuang had been in the secret chamber for a month in a closed-door cultivation. He had tried to break through the bottleneck again and again. Today, he finally opened his eyes. "I made it," he said excitedly, eyes shining. The third step of the heaven-defying 4 steps of the heavenly creation skill, the everlasting realm, I made it. After staying in the second step of the deification realm for hundreds of years, Jian Wushuang had finally broken through. Chapter 908. The Third Step, Everlasting Realm. Chapter 908. The Third Step, Everlasting Realm. In the secret chamber, Jian Wushuang sat alone observing the changes in his body. In the heaven-defying 4 steps of the heavenly creation skill, each step forward could bring a qualitative change. The first step was the heaven-treading realm. It had given Jian Wushuang an incredible degree of perception and talent. The second step was the deification realm. It had given him extraordinary, limitless battle strength. This was the reason he could fight with a Tao master when he was only a divine realm expert. The step he had entered now was the third step, the everlasting realm. The everlasting realm was similar to the eternal realm for ordinary warriors. At this step, the heavenly creation skill gave Jian Wushuang an unprecedented life-saving ability. In the everlasting realm, I become immortal? Jian Wushuang showed an expression of ecstasy. He already felt the change in his body. When he reached this step, his body had become completely different. He could clearly feel that every part of his body, his flesh, blood, even every single cell, seemed to be an independent life with exuberant vitality. Even if these parts separated from his body, they would still survive for a long time, and the body could live through them. In this step, unless his body was ruined completely with nothing left, Jian Wushuang would not die. If Jian Wushuang was more knowledgeable, he could hide a part of his body in a safe place. In this way, he could use it to recover even he was killed in a dangerous situation in the future. The everlasting realm. A real immortal body. Inverse cultivation is truly amazing. One can be immortal when they've only reached the eternal realm, the Gu King said. Like a parasite in Jian Wushuang's body, the Gu King could feel the change in his body and knew his new ability. Even the Gu King couldn't help but be shocked. Immortal! Jian Wushuang was delighted but shook his head immediately. Unfortunately, this ability only exists in this step. If I become a Tao master in the future, this ability will be impaired. It will be impossible to ever be immortal again. After figuring out this step, Jian Wushuang started to explore his strength carefully. Stepping from the deification realm into the everlasting realm was just like a normal cultivator stepping from the divine realm into the eternal realm. Naturally, his strength would be greatly improved. As an inverse cultivator, Jian Wushuang's improvement was even greater. There has been great improvement in all aspects of my strength and body. Jian Wushuang clenched his hands and felt the power gather. He was at least a dozen times stronger than he had been when he was in the divine realm. His strength was now far beyond the limit of the eternal realm. Moreover, by breaking through the realm, he was able to improve several of his secret skills. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes again to cultivate the Star River's secret skill of the ancient god clan. There were 34 levels of the Star River's secret skill. Jian Wushuang had reached the 15th level when he was in the divine realm. This was far beyond what normal divine realm experts could do. His secret skill level would naturally be higher now. Jian Wushuang reached the 16th level of the Star River secret skill very easily, then the 17th, the 18th, and the 19th levels. 3 days passed quickly. After 3 days, Jian Wushuang finally reached his limit in how far he could cultivate the Star River secret skill. He had attained the 24th level of the Star River secret skill. After cultivating 9 secret skill levels in one go, his power had increased 27 times. Adding in the 45 from before, Jian Wushuang's power was now 72 times that of a normal expert. Jian Wushuang was sure that it was absolutely comparable to or even stronger than the power of a normal Dao master. With my strength, I no longer need to fear a Dao master, Jian Wushuang thought. It is common for people to treat the inverse cultivation of an eternal realm expert as a Dao master. The strength of the 2 levels is comparable, the Gu King said, his voice sounding in Jian Wushuang's heart. Jian Wushuang nodded secretly. He knew that before he'd broken through, he had been able to fight with ordinary Dao masters. Now, after breaking through the realm, his strength had skyrocketed. Naturally, his battle strength was stronger. Jian Wushuang began to cultivate the immortality secret skill. When he was in the ancient world, he had gotten the immortality secret skill, a secret skill for the body. His body was already very strong. With this breakthrough, he quickly advanced to the 4th level of the secret skill, divine body technique. His body became more tenacious and strong. Jian Wushuang finally came out of the secret chamber. As soon as he came out, Wang Yuan called him. In a meeting hall. "Third brother, you have finally finished your cultivation. Your senior brother has been waiting for you for half a month," Wang Yuan said. "Senior brother?" Jian Wushuang was confused. Then he noticed a young man sitting on a chair in the meeting hall. He had long, blood-red hair. It looked like he had bathed in a sea of blood. The young man was his senior brother, Xueling Tian. "Junior brother, how's everything going?" Xueling Tian asked with a smile. "Senior brother, how did you know I was here?" Jian Wushuang asked, walking toward Xueling Tian. "Someone brought me." "Look," Xueling Tian said, pointing to the opposite side. Only then did Jian Wushuang notice that there was another man sitting in the meeting hall. He was quite mysterious, enveloped in a black robe so that Jian Wushuang could not see his face clearly. The man raised his head slightly. At the same time, laughter came slowly out from under his black robe. "Long time no see, Jian Wushuang." "Long time no see?" Jian Wushuang wrinkled his eyebrows and looked at the man. When he saw the man's thin, old face, Jian Wushuang trembled in shock. "Senior Di Jing, is that you?" Chapter 909, The Arrival of Di Jing. Chapter 909, The Arrival of Di Jing. The man turned out to be Di Jing, whom Jian Wushuang met in the ancient world and saved his life. Di Jing was a subordinate of Emperor Shao. "I don't come alone. She came here with me." Di Jing pointed to the door behind Jian Wushuang. Turning around, Jian Wushuang noticed a dirty girl who hid behind the door. "Lung Rushue?" Jian Wushuang felt surprised. "Hi, big brother. I haven't seen you in a while." Lung Rushue walked toward him with a bright smile. Jian Wushuang was wearing an odd expression as he looked at her. He had met Lung Rushue before, and knew she was the younger sister of Lung Rushuang. However, he found that Lung Rushuang was the only princess in Tang of the East. No one heard of Lung Rushue. Therefore, Jian Wushuang wondered about her. Now they met again. "How come you are still young after so many years?" Jian Wushuang chuckled. "I am a grown-up," Lung Rushue answered proudly. Jian Wushuang laughed and turned to Di Jing. Dear Di Jing, are you in the ancient world with Emperor Shao? Why you come here with my first senior brother? Jian Wushuang sat beside him and asked. He used to think Di Jing's strength was unfathomable, although he was not as strong as Emperor Shao. As Jian Wushuang improved his strength and opened his mind, he was able to judge the real realm Di Jing entered. Dao Master. As the seventh war god of Emperor Shao, Di Jing was a real expert at the level of Dao Master. My lord went back to the eternal world. I come to see you. Di Jing smiled. See me? About the selection ceremony? Jian Wushuang guessed. Yes. Di Jing nodded seriously. Miss Lung is my lord's flesh and blood. He has been helping her detoxify the ice heart poison for years. He loves his daughter so much. A few days ago, my lord heard that Emperor Lung would hold a selection ceremony for Miss Lung. So we came here instantly. Sure enough, Jian Wushuang was not surprised. Emperor Lung wanted to make alliances with Xia clan through marriage, to which Emperor Shao would never consent. So my lord, let me ask you, would you participate in the selection ceremony held 3 years later? Di Jing got right to the point. Of course I would. Jian Wushuang did not hesitate. So, if you win at the selection ceremony, you will marry my lord's daughter? Di Jing stared at him. I will. Jian Wushuang nodded, but only if Miss Lung is willing to marry me. Hey, don't worry, my big brother. I'm sure my sister will marry you. Lung Ruxue giggled. Jian Wushuang shrugged. Well, let's discuss it. Di Jing began to talk. The selection ceremony will invite experts from all the forces. Many geniuses want to win, but there's only one winner. So the competition will be fierce. And the competition focuses on 2 things. One is the wedding gifts. The other is talent strength. The geniuses eligible to participate must have a certain power behind them. Some of them may be the top geniuses from all the forces, while some may be personal disciples who have been carefully cultivated by old masters. In short, since they will attend the ceremony, their wedding gifts are definitely great. Among these geniuses, the one who has the biggest power behind him is Xia Meng, first master of Xia clan. The marriage between Xia clan and Tang of the East is bound to happen. Emperor Ling had conspired with Xia clan earlier. As the biggest overlord clan in Tang of the East, Xia clan will prepare extraordinary wedding gifts. Jian Wushuang, have you prepared any wedding gifts? Di Jing asked. I do have prepared some, but I don't know if they are better than those of Xia clan. Jian Wushuang frowned. After he knew the selection ceremony from Wang Yuan, he immediately began to prepare 2 wedding gifts. They were crepe myrtle elixir and Bodhi Dan. The elixir could suppress the poison inside Lung Rushuang. The 2 gifts were treasures. Especially the Bodhi fruit, it could help an eternal realm expert become Dao Master. Jian Wushuang was confident that his wedding gifts could match those of other geniuses, but he was not sure whether they were better than the gifts of Xia clan. After all, being the biggest overlord clan in Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land, Xia clan had an impressive history. Their wedding gifts would be well prepared. Not to mention, Jian Wushuang needed to surpass Xia Meng in every aspect. My lord said he could help you if your wedding gifts are not good enough. Di Jing said. Are you sure? Jian Wushuang raised his eyebrows. Emperor Shao is Lung Rushuang's father. How can he prepare the wedding gifts for his son-in-law? Xueling Tian said nothing beside them. At this moment he said to Di Jing, we won't bother Emperor Shao. Since Wushuang is the disciple of ancient sect, we will prepare his wedding gifts. My junior brother, Xueling Tian looked at Jian Wushuang, I will tell our master about this. His gifts won't let you down. Thanks. Jian Wushuang nodded heavily. He was confident in his master's mysterious and amazing skills. After hearing his words, Di Jing's complexion turned odd. According to the information he received, the master of Jian Wushuang and Xueling Tian was only an eternal realm expert from an ordinary sect in the remote domain. How can an eternal realm expert prepare great wedding gifts? Although puzzled, he didn't talk about it too much, because Jian Wushuang and Xueling Tian were so confident. Now that we do not have to worry about the wedding gifts, The only thing left is strength. Jian Wushuang, can you battle with Xia Meng? Di Jing looked at him. Chapter 9-10, The Third Treasure. Chapter 9-10, The Third Treasure. Xia Meng. Jian Wushuang couldn't help but fall into deep thought. Ever since he had arrived in Tang of the East, he had heard the name of the eldest son in Xia family more than once. The so-called number one genius in Eternal World, number one in Eternal Realm, the youngest Eternal Realm in the history of Eternal World, and so on. However, Jian Wushuang had been doubtful of the so-called number one genius, number one in Eternal Realm. If we were to fight one-on-one, he would definitely lose. Jian Wushuang said in a low voice. Oh, so confident? Di Jing looked at Jian Wushuang in surprise. He didn't know that Jian Wushuang was said to possess the fighting power of one in the seventh step of Eternal Realm even before breakthrough. Number one in Eternal Realm in Eternal World, he is just a joke in front of me. Jian Wushuang's gaze was cold. Then King of Venomous Worms in his body spoke. Jian Wushuang, you are an inverse cultivator. Once you had reached Eternal Realm, it will just be like a Dao master of an ordinary cultivator. Plus, you have the bloodline of ancient god. On top of that, you have extraordinary encounters and many skills. You would be playing the bully if you were to compare to the so-called number one in Eternal Realm in this world. Bully? Jian Wushuang chuckled quietly. As you have no problem with betrothal presence and power, it will be much easier. You only have to surpass Xia Meng in the son-in-law recruitment assembly. All forces and experts will be watching. Although Emperor Leng is brutal, he shouldn't go against the rules he set, Di Jing smiled. Of course, you have to prepare for the best and for the worst. If you were to lose to Xia Meng on the son-in-law recruitment assembly, or if Emperor Leng goes against his own rules, we will have to fight against Emperor Leng and Xia family head-on. Di Jing's expression became cold. Back then, Master lost to Emperor Leng and he had no choice but to leave Tang of the East. However, although Master left, he never gave up. All these years, he has been storing up strength. Until now, although the accumulated power wasn't enough to match evenly with Emperor Leng or Xia family, he stands a chance to fight a war. Stand a chance to fight a war? Xue Lingtan looked shocked and complimented. We of Void Temple knew long ago that Emperor Shao had been accumulating power. We never expected that the power that Shao accumulated over such a short period of time has reached such a level. Tsk. He lives up to his name, Emperor Shao, the second place among the four emperors. Jian Wushuang was stunned at the comment. Emperor Shao was on the second place among the four emperors. Senior Di Jing, I never understood. Why would Emperor Shao and Emperor Ling, who were a couple, suddenly have a falling out? And, Emperor Shao is so powerful, why would he lose at the hands of Emperor Leng back then? Jian Wushuang asked. Among the four emperors, Emperor Qing was widely acknowledged as the strongest. Hence, he naturally was in first place. As for Emperor Shao, he was in the second place. He was definitely stronger than Emperor Leng by one notch. Why would he lose? I am not sure why Master fell out with Emperor Leng back then. Master never told me either. As for why Master lost, it was because Emperor Leng had a helping hand. An impressive helping hand, Di Jing said. Who? Jian Wushuang asked. National Master, Di Jing said. Jian Wushuang understood then. When he had been in Blood Eagle Guard, he had also heard that there was an impressive National Master in Tang of the East who had great skills. Just like the Divine Sea and Blood Eagle armor, they were both from the hands of the National Master. Oh yeah, Jian Wushuang, as you are joining the son-in-law recruitment assembly, do you have a recommendation? Di Jing asked. Recommendation? Jian Wushuang was confused. Not everyone can join son-in-law recruitment assemble. You, of course, need to have a recommendation and the person who gives it to you has to have enough say to let Tang of the East treat him politely, Di Jing explained. Jian Wushuang looked to his senior, Xue Lingtian, subconsciously. Xue Lingtian, as one of the 18 masters of Void Temple, held a high position too. Don't look at your senior. His position has power but Void Temple is aloof. They never get involved in any fight among forces in Eternal World. The son-in-law recruitment assembly is possibly the fight between Emperor Lung and Master, so your senior is not in an appropriate position to get involved, Di Jing said. Xue Lingtian shrugged helplessly too. If you have no recommender, Master invited one for you, Di Jing said. Who is it? Jian Wushuang asked. Alchemy Master? Huqiong, Di Jing said. The Alchemy Master is widely recognized as the #1 elixir master in Eternal World. He is an eminent position in Eternal World. There are many experts who once looked for him to refine elixirs and owe him a favor. Although he is alone, as long as he orders, there will be a bunch of Dao masters swarming in to work for him. He alone represents a fierce force. Besides, this Alchemy Master is the master of your brother here. Ha! Jian Wushuang's eyes shone and he immediately looked at Wang Yuan. A third brother, don't worry about it. Master replied to me long ago that he agreed to give you a recommendation. After all, you offered him quite a number of good things. He was rather delighted, Wang Yuan smiled. I see. Your master is the #1 elixir master in Eternal World. No wonder your elixir refining skills could improve so greatly, Jian Wushuang complimented as he said, Thank Alchemy Master on my behalf. No problem, Wang Yuan waved. All right, I have told you everything I need to. 3 years later, the son-in-law recruitment assembly will take place. You have 3 years' time to prepare. 3 years later, don't let Master and his eldest daughter down, Di Jing exhorted. Jian Wushuang nodded solemnly. Very soon, Di Jing and Leng Ruxue had left, but Xue Lingtian wasn't in a hurry to leave. He took Jian Wushuang to a secluded void. Junior, the son-in-law recruitment assembly 3 years later, I will come personally. However, due to my position, I can't be your recommendation. However, if there were to be any accident at the assembly, I will still appear as an individual to lend you a helping hand, Xue Lingtian said in a serious tone. Thank you, Senior. Jian Wushuang expressed his gratitude. I came here today to ask about the son-in-law recruitment assembly, but there's one more thing. Xue Lingtian waved and took out a scroll painting that seemed to be turning yellow. This is... Jian Wushuang looked at the scroll painting in shock. I returned to Firmament territory and I saw the master. This scroll painting, Master entrusted me to bring it to you. Xue Lingtian said, Master said that he would give us 3 treasures that we could use when we leave Firmament territory to wander. He gave it to you. However, he gave you 2 previously and this is the 3rd one. Chapter 9:11 Mountain River Maps. Chapter 9:11 Mountain River Map. The 3rd treasure? Jian Wushuang was excited. When he left the Firmament territory, his master had promised to send him 3 treasures. The first treasure was the Blood Mountain Sword, which could be used both to kill and to suppress. Its mighty power even exceeded Emperor weapons. It had improved Jian Wushuang's overall strength considerably. He was good at using it. The second treasure was the token containing the 3 sword essences which could save his life. Each sword essence was more powerful than the last one. Jian Wushuang had only used 2 of them, and the 2 sword essences had achieved the expected effect. Xian Yi had once told him that he was preparing the 3rd treasure and would find the proper time to give him it. Now Xian Yi had asked Xue Lingtian to give him this. Thank you, first senior brother. Jian Wushuang put the scroll into his interspatial ring. By the way, I have told our master about the wedding gifts. Just rely on him. He will give you an unparalleled gift in 3 years. Xue Lingtian smiled. Jian Wushuang blinked excitedly. He knew his master never broke his word. The wedding gift was sure to be incomparable. Junior brother, I have to deal with some affairs at the Void Temple. Make good preparations for the selection ceremony. See you. Xue Lingtian left. After seeing him off, Jian Wushuang returned to the secret chamber. The ancient yellow scroll was suspending in the air in front of him. It seemed to be ordinary. If it was sold on the street, no one would take a second glance at it. My master is so skillful that he has given me 2 useful treasures. The 3rd treasure must be even more beneficial to me. He spent such a long time preparing it. But what about its power? Jian Wushuang stared at the scroll expectantly. It's only a treasure. Why are you so excited? The Goo King asked carelessly. You know nothing about it. Every treasure my master has given me is of great use. So is this. And this one must be extraordinary, Jian Wushang replied. Oh, extraordinary? Jian Wushuang, do you know what level your master has reached? Is he a Dao master? The Goo King asked him. Jian Wushuang thought for a while and shook his head. My master is not a Dao master. He has only entered the eternal realm. Eternal realm? The Goo King laughed out loud. How can you expect an eternal realm expert to give you an extraordinary treasure? Jian Wushuang, is your horizon so narrow? Please leave me alone. His eyes fixed upon the scroll. Let it recognize its lord first. Jian Wushang dropped his blood on the scroll, waiting for it to recognize him as its lord. Everything went smoothly. Once the scroll recognized Jian Wushuang as its lord, he saw a glint of gold on its surface. Suddenly, the whole scroll took on an entirely new look, as if it had woken up. That's interesting. The Goo King was astonished too, but still didn't pay much attention. Jian Wushuang breathed a sigh of relief, then opened the scroll. He saw a vivid image. There were mountains, rivers, sky, and earth. Everything was vivid and lifelike. The most appealing part was the 9 continents, each of which was extremely realistic. Jian Wushuang took a casual look at one of them, only to see a boundless world. A series of information was sent to Jian Wushuang from the scroll. It's the mountain river map. The endless mountains and rivers divide the 9 provinces. The mountains and rivers are as palms, and the 9 provinces as the seal, creating the country. Jian Wushuang was shocked at these simple messages. A secret skill appeared in his mind. The secret skill was called the 9-province seal. The 9-province seal was a powerful secret skill based on the 9 provinces in the mountain river map. It had 9 moves in total. The first move, Qing province as the seal, was called Split the Heavens. The second move, Yu province as the seal, was called Hack the Earth. The third move, Yang province as the seal, was called Overwhelm the Rain. The fourth move, Yan province as the seal, was called Turn Up the Cloud. The fifth move. Jian Wushuang was in a total shock. It also hit the Goo King. How can it be? Incredible. It's absolutely incredible. Even I cannot crack the secret skills in the treasure. Are you kidding me? Jian Wushuang, are you sure your master gave you this scroll? The Goo King asked. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. Is he really just an eternal realm expert? The Goo King asked again. He is. Jian Wushuang nodded uncertainly. The Goo King did not say anything. After a long period of silence, he spoke again. If I'm right, it was your master who passed the secret skill which can improve your consciousness. Yes, Jian Wushuang nodded. If the universal Tao scripture did make his consciousness stronger, it had to have been refined by his master. Aha, it seems that your master is more than an eternal realm expert. Even I cannot crack the secret skills in this treasure. If he refined this scroll, I'm certain no one can reach his level of refining weapons. The Goo King became solemn. Jian Wushuang was silent. He did not reply, but instead continued to study the mountain river map. The mountain river map works in cooperation with the 9-province seal. The 9-province seal looks extraordinary. I wonder if I'll be able to understand the first move of the 9-province seal, as well as the second sword formation of the 9th heaven sword formation in the next 3 years, Jian Wushuang said hopefully. The 9th heaven sword formation was his unexpected tricky move. He had managed to display the second sword formation when he was meditating on Star Island. It took too much spiritual power for a divine realm expert to display the second sword formation, but it became easier once he entered Eternal Realm. Chapter 9:12, Before the Storm. Chapter 9:12, Before the Storm. In the secret chamber, the 2 original bodies of Jian Wushuang appeared at the same time. After, his world body remained in the secret chamber, meditating the 9-province seal on the mountain river map, while the slaughter body left the royal palace for a remote forest. Jian Wushuang stood on the void of the forest, staring at the sword magic weapons with mauve gleaming in them. Organic magic weapon, 1-meter sword, 72 in total. Jian Wushuang displayed the 9th heaven sword formation with blood sky sword. He shapeshifted it into 1-meter sword, the more powerful one. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wushuang endless spiritual power seeped from his pores. 9th heaven sword formation, combine. Crush. The 72 1-meter swords merged rapidly and combined into a mauve sword. Although this sword was not large and a mere 3 meters long, its razor-sharp edge shined blindingly bright. Kill. Fueled by the killing intent in Jian Wushuang's eyes, the sword rushed forward quickly. The mauve glint flashed across the void. Boom! An enormous hole penetrated the center of a mountain 3,000 meters away from Jian Wushuang. The spiral hole drilled with outrageous force. The power is not sufficient enough, besides it consumes too much spiritual power. I need to improve upon it. Jian Wushuang brandished the sword formation again. In the forest, the slaughter body of Jian Wushuang absorbed and practiced the second sword formation. Jian Wushuang meditated the second sword formation, but it took too long to display skillfully. The two original bodies of Jian Wushuang endeavored to improve their strength, making preparations for the selection ceremony. Time flied. 3 years passed. 2 days remained until the selection ceremony. Deep in the royal place, in a garden covered by the restriction, white-robed Lung Rushuang looked up at the sky and whispered, "Is the day coming?" "Sooner or later." Lung Rushuang outstretched her hands. A cold breeze blew past. "It's so windy." Many profound clans resided in Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land. Among them, the Xia clan reigned the strongest along with their first overlord clan. Except Xia clan, only a few top clans still existed. One of them, the Baiming clan, ranked on par with the Xia clan. A gray-robed middle-aged man sat in the splendid palace of the Baiming clan. He narrowed his eyes and rocked his chair, the man's handsome face and delicate, short dark hair wooing the servants around him. In front of him stood a number of black-robed men. They looked ordinary without any breath of cultivation power, but that was exactly why they looked dreadful. All the black-robed men, radiating a particularly powerful presence, were obviously supreme experts at the level of Tao Master. "Everything is finished, my lord," a skinny elder from the group said. If Jian Wushuang were present, he would recognize that the elder was Di Jing. The only person who commanded Di Jing in Eternal World was Emperor Shao. The gray-robed middle-aged man. "What about you?" Emperor Shao asked, glancing at the purple-robed man beside him. The man, Baiming Hao, was the leader of Baiming clan. Although a rebellious person, he behaved in front of Emperor Shao. "We are at your command, your majesty," Baiming Hao said humbly. "Good," Emperor Shao said, nodding slightly with sparkling dark eyes like the night sky. "My power and the experts I invited, as well as Baiming clan, is more than sufficient to wage war with Emperor Lung. Most importantly, that man agreed to join us." That man. The black-robed men, including Di Jing and Bei Mingho, faces reddened in frustration when Emperor Shao mentioned that man. They just dared to fight with Emperor Lung before that man agreed to join. Now they had a 30% chance of winning. "A 30% chance is enough for us," Emperor Shao said, crossing his hands. "But if Jian Wushuang wins and that bitch keeps her words, we may need not intervene. Just wait for the selection ceremony." Firmament territory was only a little territory in the Eternal World. Among all the sects and powers in Firmament territory, the 3 magnates controlled the lead. Ancient Sect was merely one of the top sections. In the palace of Ancient Sect atop a mountain, white-robed palace master Xian Yi gazed up at the sky with hands behind his back. He stood straighter than a pine. That is, before a figure suddenly appeared behind him. "Your Majesty, Palace Master Xian Yi." He was Palace Master Destruction, one of the 12 Palace Masters of the Ancient Sect. "According to your command, I've allowed our disciples to gather at Heavenly Peak Valley. Tomorrow we can begin the hunting competition," Palace Master Destruction said. "Oh, Xian Yi furrowed his brow and smiled. The Heavenly Peak Valley must be noisy with so many people. Go and maintain order. Okay. Palace Master Destruction said, nodding in bewilderment. To improve the strength of the disciples, the ancient sect hosted an unprecedented hunting competition. It was normal to hold a competition, but strangely, all the disciples participated. The outer disciples and inner disciples, as well as experts from the ancient sect, have all gone to help maintain order. Only Xian Yi remained. Was it necessary for all the disciples to participate in such a hunting competition? Despite his doubts, Palace Master Destruction asked nothing. After Palace Master Destruction left, Xian Yi stood alone at the peak again. He reached out and covered the heaven. The storm gathers. Wushuang, I have already sent you the wedding gift, but you should win at the selection ceremony by yourself. Come now, don't disappoint me. Xuanyi muttered to himself in a soft voice and smiled. Chapter 9:13, Taken Aback. Chapter 9:13, Taken Aback. When the selection ceremony arrived, Jian Wushang finished his meditation. During the 3 years of meditation, his 2 original bodies possessed a good command of 9 Province Seal and the second move of 9th Heaven Sword Formation. Having entered the initial realm of the second move of 9th Heaven Sword Formation, Jian Wushuang easily wielded it with outrageous proficiency. As for the 9 Province Seal in Mountain River Map, it released great power in collaboration with the map. This secret skill was much more domineering than what Jian Wushuang had seen previously. Jian Wushuang only managed to crack the first move, while he's still unable to wield it. He received no chance of driving Mountain River Map since it drained too much spiritual power. It was early in the morning. Jian Wushuang sat on a chair in the meeting hall with 3 other figures. 2 of them were his 2 close friends, Wang Yuan and Yang Zixuan. Yang Zixuan stayed at Circus Island before, but rushed to the royal palace to assist Jian Wushuang. At the first sight of Yang Zixuan, king of venomous worms could not help but exclaim, "Amazing aura of emperor! What a high-grade bloodline!" With the help of Emperor Shao, Yang Zixuan once received a bloodline inheritance. No wonder he possessed a high-grade bloodline. He made great progress these last few years and ranked the top of the Eternal Realm. If he completely erupted the bloodline at any cost, he may have the strength to combat a Tao Master. A gray-robed elder also sat among them quietly. This weathered elder closed his eyes slightly, blinked twice, and repeated. He looked like a piece of wood. He was Alchemy Master Hua Qiong, the master of Wang Yuan, and the acknowledged first alchemist in the ancient world. This alchemy master served as the introducer of Jian Wushuang at the selection ceremony. The 4 figures waited for dawn without words. Although they didn't wait long. From the horizon, the sun rose, and the first rosy sunlight shined upon the ancient royal palace. The entire royal palace awakened. Rat-a-tat, rat-a-tat, rat-a-tat. One by one, the bells tolled in a deep and resonant voice. The sound reverberated through the royal palace. In the meeting hall, the 4 figures opened their eyes and looked at the window. Finally, has it arrived? Jia Wushuang stood up slowly. A smile softened his cold face as he saw the rosy sunlight. Let's go. Dan Zun also stood up. Afterwards, they set off for the ceremony venue. At the same time, in other places of the royal palace, experts from various forces of the eternal world also set off. A great many of experts rushed to the drill ground at the center of the royal palace like buzzing wasps. When Jian Wushuang and other 3 figures arrived, lots of people eagerly awaited there. So many people, Jian Wushuang said, scanning the crowd on the drill ground. There were numerous figures entering from the void nearby. There are millions of people. Wang Yuan was stunned by the scene. Crowds of people gathered around the grill ground. Everyone who attended the selection ceremony was capable, and many of them were preeminent. Fortunately, the Royal Guard of Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land sent all the members. They maintained order with Blood Eagle Guard. Some experts at the level of Tao Master also kept in bird's eye view of the venue. As a result, the drill ground was safe for all. Blood Mountain, I gave you a referral 2 days ago. As you requested, I used the name Jian Wushuang, Alchemy Master said. Thank you, Alchemy Master. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Because he wanted to marry Leng Rushuang fair and square, he had to use his real name. Although it would cause a lot of trouble, he would face them sooner or later. Since Xia clan was so powerful, they must have received the list of the competitors. They surely were astonished to see my name on the list. Jian Wushuang said, laughing in his mind. He killed Xia Yan in person, the second master of Xia clan. People in Xia clan searched for him these years, but found nothing. This time, if they knew he dared to participate in this selection ceremony and to compete with Xia Meng, they would definitely do far worse than slander his name. A figure suddenly appeared beside Jian Wushuang. Hi, first senior brother. Jian Wushuang greeted him with a wave. His first senior brother, Xueling Tian. Have a gander at your wedding gift, my junior brother, Xueling Tian said, offering him an interspatial ring. Is this? Jian Wushuang smiled and took the ring. He saw the mysterious smile on Xueling Tian's face, which aroused his curiosity. What will the wedding gift would be? Jian Wushuang said, peeking inside interspatial ring with curiosity and anticipation. When he saw clear what the wedding gift truly was, he and King of Venomous Worms stomped their feet vehemently. How is this possible? Jian Wushuang said in a demanding voice, staring at the ring in shock. Monster! Your master is a true monster, Jian Wushuang. King of Venomous Worms roared. How did he obtain these? He refined them on his own? Impossible. That's impossible. Monster! Your master is a monster. A series of roars from King of Venomous Worms rang out in Jian Wushuang's mind. Jia Wushuang felt the same as King of Venomous Worms. Horrible. He even shivered with fear. He was totally taken aback by the wedding gift his master gave him, and believed whoever saw it would be taken aback as well. After all, this wedding gift was it was far too shocking and stunning. Chapter 9:14, Xia Meng. Chapter 9:14, Xia Meng. So what do you think, junior brother? Xueling Tian asked, looking at Jian Wushuang with great interest. He saw this wedding gift himself earlier, and was quite astonished at the time. Jian Wushuang inhaled deeply and tried to hold back his great shock. He then nodded. With a gift like this, I shall never fear what the Xia clan holds in their hands, even if they take out everything they could find. Aha, laughed Xueling Tian. Don't worry. Xia clan won't be so stupid to bring out all they have even if they are going to unite by marriage. The wedding gift is all set, and for that aspect, you are on your own now. I know. Jian Wushuang nodded again. Blood Mountain, my friend. It is time you see yourself out. Alchemy Master looked over here. My third brother, Master asked me to inform you that everything is ready now. Just go for it. Yang Zishuan said. You can count on it. Have I, Jian Wushuang, ever disappointed anyone before? Not to mention that this time is about the matter of my life. With a grin, he clenched his hands. Before you even realized, he already moved towards the center of the drill ground below. We shall leave too, Master Bloodsaber, Alchemy Master said, looking at Xueling Tian with a huge smile. Right? Xueling Tian nodded slightly, but his gaze remained on Jian Wushuang. He then fetched out a token with his hand. We should pray that the selection ceremony goes well, otherwise. Xueling Tian gazed upon the token in his hand with a grim face. The huge drill ground extends for hundreds of miles, enough to accommodate hundreds of millions of people. At the edge of the drill ground gathered millions of people who are here to watch the selection ceremony. But there are only a few figures on the center vacant ground of the drill ground. These 10 people are talented genius recommended by expert to take part in this selection ceremony. And among those people, most have already made their names known in Eternal World. You see that young man in white clothes? Is he not Dong Yanchong from Dong Yan clan? Dong Yanchong has only cultivated himself for less than 10,000 of years, Yet he is now at the top of Eternal Realm. He is indeed quite talented, maybe just a little behind Xia Meng. Besides, Dongyan clan possesses great background which is thought to be only next to Xia clan in Tang of the East. It seems like this Dongyan Chong has a great chance of becoming the emperor's son-in-law. I have seen that long-haired man with a cold expression. He is the personal disciple of Deep Sea Palace Master. His name is Li Tianqiu, a great genius, and he is already well known in Eternal World many years ago. Deep Sea Palace Master, you say? He is a mighty Dao master that even Emperor Leng regards highly. He is now an overlord in Eternal World for the Deep Sea Palace he established. That is Ku Yi, the personal disciple of Elder Deadwood. I heard he is an orphan adopted by Elder Deadwood. All these young geniuses have been recognized by the audience for they all have strong backing, great talent and strength. But of course among these young men, there is someone unknown, unheard. Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang wore a blood-red robe fashioned from Shui Ying armor. On his back he carried a blood mountain sword. The young man just stood there with his arms folded and his eyes closed. Jian Wushuang was indifferent, though the eyes of the audience glanced at him from time to time. Who is the one carrying the sword? I have no idea, but he is recommended by Alchemy Master. Alchemy Master? He is the top alchemist of the Eternal World. Very impressive, but still we know little about his strength. Occasionally, people discussed Jian Wushuang a little. Just then, dozens of figures rushed the drill ground from the void outside. The aura spreading out of these figures was so strong that it attracted all the eyes of the people present. Xia Clan, people from Xia Clan. Xia Clan has come. The first overlord clan in Tang of the East. There came a commotion all over the drill ground. Those figures hesitated not one bit, they made a straight path to the grandstand floating in front of the drill ground. Yet only one figure flew towards the drill ground down below. Soon this figure reached the center of the drill ground. This man wore a luxurious silk robe and let his long hair flow freely in the air. He possessed a gorgeous visage as if he was from a fairy land. With a crinkled smile on the corners of his mouth, he emitted a unique charm that no one could describe. With his appearance, a peculiar sense spread out. All the eyes of those attending were gravitated towards him, immediately making him the center of this whole world. Xia Meng. He is the acknowledged first genius of Eternal World, first Eternal Realm. He is also the youngest to ever enter Eternal Realm, and the true chosen one. Everyone's eyes focused on him. Xia Meng is considered the legend of the youth in Eternal World. Even someone like Dongyan Chong, Li Tianqiu, Ku Yi also focused their eyes on Xia Meng. Indeed, they were true top genius, but the huge gap between them and Xia Meng was clear. Xia Meng? Jian Wushuang said, finally opening his eyes as he looked toward him. And coincidentally, the eyes of Xia Meng also looked around and happened to meet Jian Wushuang's eyes. And then, they became the center of the whole world. Xia Meng, who captured the eyes of all, paced slowly towards Jian Wushuang and then stopped when there was less than 10 meters away. After that, Xia Meng raised his head and looked directly at Jian Wushuang, his eyes covered by a freezing aura. Jian Wushuang trained his eyes on Xia Meng calmly. Their eyes met and caused a huge collision in the void. It seemed the whole universe became silent all at once. For both Jian Wushuang and Xia Meng, they could not see anyone at this moment, all they saw in their eyes was each other. This feeling was like a needle pointing to an awning. This unique scene was witnessed by the entire audience. The atmosphere in the drill ground stirred. What's happening? Who is that guy and why is Xia Meng so concerned about him? There are dozens of geniuses taking part in this ceremony. Among them are some talented ones like Dongyan Chong, Li Tianqiu and Ku. Yet Xia Meng ignores all of them and goes straight to unknown folk? Who is he? All at once, many people wondered who Jian Wushuang really was. And then, in the middle of the drill ground stood two men against each other. Xia Meng suddenly opened his mouth and said, "I have a younger brother, my sibling." Xia Meng spoke in a low voice, but somehow his words managed to spread out among the drill ground for everyone to hear clearly. He was killed by me. Jian Wushuang spoke with no emotion. He didn't evade the question one bit. Chapter 9:15, Tit for Tats. Chapter 9:15, Tit for Tat. He's dead. I killed him. These simple words sounded cold, but turned the drill ground on instantly. He's the guy who killed Xia Mang's brother. Yes, I remember. More than 200 years ago, Xia Yan fought with a Divine Realm expert in Circus Island. The Divine Realm expert defeated him with only 3 sword strikes. Xia Yan died afterwards. It is said that he was killed by the Divine Realm expert when he went for revenge. The Divine Realm expert is called Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang. It's him. That's him. No wonder Xia Mang went to him directly. He's Jian Wushuang, who killed Xia Yan more than 200 years ago. Numerous exclamations filled the drill ground one after another. Everyone gawked at Jian Wushuang in astonishment. At the time when second master of Xia clan died, the entire Xia clan was enraged, raising chaos in the kingdom Tang of the eastern land. During those years, Xia clan kept looking for the Divine Realm expert but couldn't find him. Who knew the Divine Realm expert had not only made a breakthrough to Eternal Realm, but also came to the selection ceremony. So above board. Didn't he worry about being killed by the Xia clan? It was you. Xia Mang's expression turned cold. Without any effort to cover, his intention to kill was obvious. What of it? Jian Wushuang said, glancing at Xia Mang. But I like your arrogance, Xia Mang sneered. Don't worry, it's selection ceremony with Emperor Lung present. Our Xia clan won't kill you here. But once the selection ceremony ends, you must die. No one can save you, no matter it's alchemy master who recommended you this time, or your senior brother Master Bloodsaber. You have no say about whether they can save me, or whether I will die, Jian Wushuang answered coldly. When I say you must die, you will? Xia Mang said. It seemed like he announced Jian Wushuang's fate. Do I? I will wait. Jian Wushuang showed no change in his facial expression. It seemed he cared little about what Xia Mang said at all. People around the drill ground heard their confronting conversations. Some of them became secretly expectant. In the void in front of the drill ground, a giant stand floated with some console tables on it. Many stalwart people with strong auras sat in front of the tables. There were dozens of them. They were either the masters of some big clans and powers, or the solitary experts with formidable prowess. Jian Wushuang's senior brother, Xueling Tian, alchemy master, was there too. Those experts saw clearly what occurred down there. It's quite confronting. But it makes sense. It's Xia Mang's biological brother that Jian Wushuang killed. I quite admire this little guy. He knows that the Xia clan hunts him by any means. Without hiding away, instead he comes to this selection ceremony above board. Does he believe his senior brother or alchemy master can save him? Although alchemy master is very powerful as far as I know, he has nothing to do with Jian Wushuang. He won't risk his relationship with the Xia clan just for Jian Wushuang. As regards Master Bloodsaber, he is one of the 18 masters of the Void Temple, which should not be underestimated. But the dispute between Jian Wushuang and the Xia clan has nothing to do with the Void Temple. It's impossible for the Void Temple to step in. Master Bloodsaber alone is still not enough when pitted against the Xia clan. The experts in front of the console tables chatted freely. They hid nothing while talking. Everything they said was heard by people from the Xia clan and Master Bloodsaber. 2 Dao master experts of the Xia clan sat in front of the central tables. Among them was Elder He. Jian Wushuang met him in Circus Island. The other one had messy black hair and dark skin, making him look like a wild man. The great elder of the Xia clan, Xia Yu. Hearing the conversations among the experts, Xia Yu snorted, a junior with no respect. He who killed our Xia clan people must die. Hearing that, Xueling Tian, sitting right in front of Xia Yu, looked over and said slowly, Are you honestly this angry, Elder Xia Yu? Master Bloodsaber, Jian Wushuang killed the second master of our Xia clan. We didn't destroy the ancient sect he belongs to. That's respecting you. Don't being unappreciated, Xiaoyu snorted. What can you do if I am unappreciated? Do you even desire to kill me? Xue Lingun sneered. Xiaoyu, I am not looking down upon you. I am sitting before you and I won't fight back. If you dare, just go ahead. Xue Lingtian sipped the wineglass before him. Hearing this, Xiaoyu furrowed his brow. To kill Xue Lingtian. He dared not. Not only won't he, even the master of the Xia clan, or the ancestor behind the Xia clan wouldn't dare kill Xue Lingtian so openly. After all, no power in the entire eternal world sustained the anger of the Void Temple. I don't dare kill you, but I do dare kill Jian Wushuang. I don't believe there is anyone who can save him today, Xiaoyu snorted. Let's wait and see, Xue Lingtian said, not wishing to talk too much with Xiaoyu. Blood Saber, it seems that your junior brother has gotten into much trouble today. Beside Master Blood Saber, there was an elder with white hair. The elder watched everything with a smile, making others feel warm. Same as Xue Lingtian, the white-haired elder was also one of the 18 masters of the Void Temple. Just little trouble, Xue Lingtian smiled. There was an emaciated elder with young face and white hair sitting in front of the another table. A green-haired maid sat beside him. They were the Lord of Circus Island and his daughter, Lin Wan. Dad, Jian Wushuang provoked Xia Yan because of me. If the Xia clan wish to kill him, you need to help him, Lin Wan said, her voice breaking. The Xia clan is the #1 overlord clan in the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land. I cannot become their enemies. Lord of Circus Island said, shaking his head. Dad, Lin Wan said in a worried tone. Don't fret. We can just sit and watch. It's not as simple as you imagine. Lord of Circus Island said and impatiently waved his hand. Lin Wan couldn't say more. Right then, with a group of attendants surrounding her, a beautifully harsh figure walked slowly from the distant palace. Everyone in the drill ground couldn't help stopping what they did and stare at the harsh figure. Chapter 9:16, It has begun. Chapter 9:16, It has begun. Dressed in white and surrounded by the others, she walked forward slowly. Abruptly, silence descended as everyone looked at her in captivation. Her skin was lighter than snow and her eyes were like a clear spring. She stunned everyone present with her elegance and grace. Her beauty and breathtaking elegance were evident. No words could adequately describe her beauty. Above all, her aloofness was her most attractive trait. It was something that no one else in the entire world could come close to matching. This was Lung Rushuang, the widely acknowledged #1 beauty in the eternal world, the princess of the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land, and the heroine of this selection ceremony. All the male cultivators were enchanted when they laid eyes on her. Apart from Jian Wushuang, all the other geniuses cast her appreciative looks from their location in the center of the drill ground. Even Xia Mang's eyes were eager and his hands were clenched. Only a lady of such attributes would deserve to be my wife, he thought. As Lung Rushuang sat down at the void's viewing point, everyone relaxed visibly. Soon, Emperor Ling arrived. He sat on the towering throne in the middle of the viewing point and waved his hand. Let's get started. Following his announcement, the sound of an ancient bell reverberated through the drill ground. It seemed to convey a special authority. Everyone became serious and respectful. Emperor Lung looked down with a cold expression on his face. His grave voice echoed through the drill ground. I hold the selection ceremony today to find a suitable husband for Shuang'er. I won't marry her to a nobody. In order to marry her, show your sincerity and good faith. Secondly, show your talent and capability. The outcome of this ceremony depends on 2 criteria. First, the wedding gifts you have brought. Second, your strength. I will select the most outstanding man to be Shuang'er's husband based on these 2 criteria. His announcement was met with equanimity. Everyone present was aware of the 2 criteria. There are 17 participants for the selection ceremony. Now please come up one at a time to show me your wedding gifts. Emperor Lung was blunt. The 17 geniuses in the drill ground, including Jian Wushuang, were visibly excited. All of them were well prepared for the selection ceremony. They had chosen their wedding gifts very carefully too. Dong Yanchong from the Dongyan clan went up first. He bowed to Emperor Leng and other experts on the stand. Emperor Leng, I am Dong Yanchong from the Dongyan clan. I've brought 5 wedding gifts. I would like to marry the princess. Dong Yanchong wore a humble expression on his face as he produced an interspatial ring. The interspatial ring did not belong to anyone, so everyone could clearly see what was inside with their consciousness. Dong Yanchong continued, the 5 wedding gifts I have prepared are Ancient Heart Elixir, Juku Formation, part of the Shui Luo Realm Map, a treasure mountain refined by various priceless treasures and 10 advanced level Emperor weapons. Without his explanation, the experts on the stand had already recognized these treasures when he produced the interspatial ring. Haha, so generous. Although the Ancient Heart Elixir, Juku Formation and the Shui Luo Realm Map piece are not that precious, they are rare and have special effects. Did Dongyan clan collect these 3 treasures at the same time? I've looked closely at the treasure mountain. The treasures it refined were priceless. Its worth can be compared to billions of divine gems. In addition, look at the 10 advanced level Emperor weapons. Such valuable wedding gifts. Many experts on the stand looked amazed. The master of Dongyan clan looked proud. Nobody knew how much the Dongyan clan had paid to obtain such treasures. While the gifts were valuable, it was clear that Emperor Leng remained unmoved. It was obvious that Emperor Leng did not appreciate the 5 wedding gifts. Next. His voice held no emotion. Emperor Leng did not comment on Dong Yanchong's gifts. Dong Yanchong frowned but could do nothing except stand back. Thereafter, the other geniuses approached the stand to show their wedding gifts. All the geniuses had outstanding backgrounds, so their wedding gifts were impressive too. Some of them had amazed the people in the drill ground, and even the top experts on the stand. However, Emperor Leng showed little interest in them. After 15 minutes, 15 of the 17 geniuses had presented their wedding gifts. Among the 15 geniuses, Ku Yi, the personal disciple of Elder Deadwood, had presented a very rare 9-colored cloud fruit. Many experts on the stand had been surprised by the gift, and some were even envious. Even Emperor Leng had been surprised. That had been the only gift which had evoked a response from him. The 15 geniuses had stepped back, leaving 2 who stood at the stand quietly. The 2 geniuses left were Xia Meng from the Xia clan and Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang, it's just you and me now. Xia Meng looked at Jian Wushuang. With your background, I'm curious what wedding gifts you will present. Xia Meng was well aware that ancient sect, to which Jian Wushuang belonged, was just a sect of a normal realm. It was considered a powerful sect of that realm but was insignificant in the context of the eternal world. In addition, as far as he knew, Jian Wushuang's master was just in eternal realm. The only thing he could show off was his senior brother, Master Blood Saber. Among the 17 geniuses, Jian Wushuang's background wasn't the least impressive, but it was far from outstanding. Chapter 9:17, Xia Clan's Wedding Gift. Chapter 9:17, Xia Clan's Wedding Gift. Don't concern yourself with my wedding gift. Worry about yourself. If you don't have a decent gift, don't blame me for defeating you, Jian Wushuang said coldly. Defeat me? By you? Xia Meng sneered. Jian Wushuang, you have no idea what you are talking about. Do you really think you can defeat me? You are merely from the ancient sect, and all you have is your senior brother Master Blood Saber. You are daydreaming. Open your eyes and see. Xia Meng's voice was cold, but he quickly stepped forward. Everyone in the drill ground and many experts on the stand looked at him. They watched in anticipation. The wedding gifts from the previous 15 geniuses had already given them much surprise. Now, Xia Meng from the Xia clan would present his gift. The Xia clan was considered the overlord clan of the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land and held significant power. Nobody knew how strong the Xia clan's foundations were. However, everybody was aware that even during the prime age with the 4 emperors reigning, the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land had held the Xia clan in esteem. Many opinions held that the selection ceremony was meant to lead to an intermarriage between the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land and the Xia clan. The wedding gift prepared by the Xia clan would likely be extraordinary and surpass those presented by the previous 15 geniuses. Distinguished Emperor Ling, I am inferior Xia Mang. To marry the princess, I have prepared 3 gifts. Xia Mang looked humble and spoke calmly. 3. Only 3. So what? It's not the quantity that matters, it's the quality. Perhaps just one of his gifts will outclass all the gifts from other geniuses. Everyone broke into noisy chatter. Hearing the discussion, Xia Mang smiled and produced a jade bottle. Please have a look. It's youth-retaining elixir, my first gift. Everyone in the drill ground noticed the ivory elixir with special fragrance in the jade bottle. Many people were shocked on hearing about the youth-retaining elixir, especially some female cultivators. Youth-retaining elixir. It's youth-retaining elixir. It is said that the youth-retaining elixir can maintain one's youth forever. An old lady who takes it will immediately become young and pretty. It's not useful for warriors, but it's the dream elixir for many female cultivators. The drill ground turned tumultuous. Distinguished Emperor Leng, Xia Mang said brightly, the materials to refine the youth-retaining elixir had become extinct in the eternal world. Therefore, no one can make it for a long time. However, our Xia clan still has some foundations. We have 2 of them and we brought them as our first gift. 1 for you, and 1 for the princess. You are quite thoughtful. Emperor Ling nodded. His coldness had melted down a little bit. Xia Mang smiled and waved his hand. 2 strokes of flowing light appeared in the empty ground nearby. The flowing light turned into 2 tall men with scarlet eyes and scarlet armor. They stood quietly but emitted strong killing intent. This created an uproar in the drill ground. They are... The experts on the stand looked at the 2 figures. Emitting such fearful killing intent. It must be Blood Emperor Puppet. Yes, that's right. There are 2 of them. They are Blood Emperor puppets. Unbelievable. These are extremely rare in the entire eternal world. Just 1 Blood Emperor puppet would be comparable to a General Dao Master. Xia Mang brought 2. The Xia clan has deep foundations. The experts appreciated the value of the gifts. They knew the 2 tall figures were very precious. Xia Mang said, the second wedding gift I've prepared is these 2 Blood Emperor puppets. I believe everyone knows that 1 Blood Emperor puppet is comparable to a normal Dao Master. That's to say, having 2 Blood Emperor puppets would be similar to having 2 Dao Masters. The whole drill ground burst into an uproar. Even though the youth-retaining elixir was rare, it was not that useful and had not surprised them. But the Blood Emperor puppet was different. 2 puppets were equal to 2 Dao Masters. What a precious gift. The 5 gifts Dong Yen had presented were insignificant compared with the 2 Blood Emperor puppets. After all the other gifts that had been presented thus far could be bought with divine gems. 2 puppet fighters with Dao Master strength were much better. I've heard that there are several Blood Emperor puppets in the Xia clan, but I didn't expect you to bring 2 today. Pretty good. Emperor Ling nodded again. It was obvious that he was quite satisfied. Xia Mang's smile widened after hearing that. Everyone waited in expectation for the 3rd gift. The second gift of the 2 rare and precious Blood Emperor puppets had already been extraordinary. The 3rd gift would be much more precious. What would that be? Xia Mang didn't keep them guessing. He took out 4 tokens. Everyone was confused because the tokens looked ordinary. Distinguished Emperor Lung, elders, you are very knowledgeable eternal world experts. Have you ever heard of Magic Cloud Valley? Xia Mang said loudly. Magic Cloud Valley? The general warriors around the drill ground were still confused. However, the top experts on the stand looked surprised. Magic Cloud Valley? The overlord of the eternal world hundreds of millions years ago? That's it. That was a very strong power. The Magic Cloud Valley in the Peak Era would be comparable to the Xia clan. Unfortunately, the Magic Cloud Valley was totally destroyed hundreds of millions years ago. Those experts had lived for quite a long time. They were familiar with the history of the eternal world. Naturally, they would have heard of the Magic Cloud Valley. Dear elders, as you all know, the reason for the doom of the Magic Cloud Valley was an unprecedented internal war. The war had tragic consequences. Many experts died. The space where the Magic Cloud Valley was located collapsed completely. Xia Meng said slowly. Chapter 9:18. I have 3 wedding gifts too. Chapter 9:18. I have 3 wedding gifts too. Magic Cloud Valley had become a mysterious relic in the eternal world since the unprecedented war. No one had been able to enter it. Xia Meng's words resounded through the drill ground. One expert on the stand nodded solemnly and said, "The Magic Cloud Valley relic is among the top 10 relics in the eternal world." It said that the tokens of the 4 great elders of the Magic Cloud Valley are needed to enter it. Did you just? That's right. Xia Meng said proudly, "The last gift I have prepared is the tokens of the 4 great elders. With them, one can go to the Magic Cloud Valley relic and obtain all the treasures in it." Wow! All the top experts on the stand were greatly surprised. The 3rd gift was so valuable. Not only was it a complete relic, it was one of the Magic Cloud Valley, the overlord of the eternal world at that time. Although the Magic Cloud Valley was not as powerful as the Xia clan, it was pretty close. The relic of such a powerful clan was very precious. That was a huge treasure. The Xia clan had presented it to Emperor Leng as a wedding gift. "So generous," Alchemy Master praised. "I've heard about the Magic Cloud Valley before. There were only a few people who survived the war. Various magic weapons and treasures were left in the relic. It's extremely valuable." "Huh, generous, so generous. That's the Xia clan." Elder Deadwood laughed, but inwardly he felt sad. Among the previous 15 geniuses, the most valuable gift that had been presented was the 9-colored cloud fruit from his disciple. Xia Meng's 3rd gift was such an incredible treasure that it dwarfed the 10 9-colored cloud fruits. Elder Deadwood realized that in terms of wedding gifts, Xia Meng had overtaken his disciple. Everyone on the stand was astonished. "Xia Yu, you're paying a high price to win the princess's hand in marriage. If Xia clan had kept the Magic Cloud Valley relic, your overall strength would have increased 10 to 20%. Would you really rather present it as a wedding gift?" Dong Yen clan's master's tone was sarcastic as he looked at Xia Yu. "It's just the Magic Cloud Valley relic, it's not that important. Intermarriage with the Imperial House is worth it regardless of what it costs." On the surface, Xia Yu appeared nonchalant about the loss of the treasure, but inwardly he felt different. Nobody knew how long it had taken to obtain the tokens. It had taken nearly 1,000,000 years to collect all 4 tokens, and now they were losing them at the same time. It was understandable that Xia Yu felt some sorrow at their loss. However, the benefits of an intermarriage with the Imperial House outweighed those of the Magic Cloud Valley relic. "Distinguished Emperor Leng, are you satisfied with the 3 wedding gifts we present?" Xia Yu asked. "Pretty good. It seems that the Xia clan has proved their good faith." The poker-faced Emperor Leng finally smiled. Indeed, the wedding gifts from the Xia clan were very outstanding, especially the 3rd one. The benefits of the Magic Cloud Valley were significant, even for the Imperial House of the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land. "Haha, it seems that the result of the wedding gifts competition is obvious." Xia Yu laughed. "Elder Xia Yu, is it too soon to make a judgment?" Someone snorted. Xia Yu looked over and realized that Xueling Tian had spoken. He answered coldly, "Master Bloodsaber, do you think there is any wedding gift comparable to ours? Or are you saying that your junior brother is going to present a more precious and scarce treasure?" "Master Bloodsaber, are you daydreaming?" Xia Yu sneered impolitely. The other experts shared the same sentiments but remained silent. Let's wait and see. I don't need to make any judgment. Everyone can tell whose wedding gift is better." Xueling Tian snorted. Xia Yu frowned and looked towards the drill ground. Xia Meng stood back and looked at Jian Wushuang. He was surprised to see that Jian Wushuang had remained composed even though everyone else had been shocked by his gifts. Jian Wushuang stepped forward. Everyone in the drill ground stared at Jian Wushuang with expectant faces. They remembered the confrontation between Jian Wushuang and Xia Meng before the selection ceremony. Xia Meng had presented 3 impressive wedding gifts. What would Jian Wushuang present? Although it's impossible to match Xia Meng's, it would be very embarrassing if the gifts are even worse than others, someone joked. In the middle of the drill ground, Jian Wushuang walked a few steps forward and stopped. He looked up at Emperor Leng and the other experts and bowed. Distinguished Emperor Leng, I am inferior Jian Wushuang. What a coincidence. I have brought wedding gifts too. Everyone was shocked. What a coincidence. Jian Wushuang had also prepared 3 wedding gifts. Xia Meng had just presented 3 gifts. If there were no history of bad blood between the two, it might just be a coincidence. However, given their previous confrontation, it was obvious that Jian Wushuang had done this intentionally. Also 3 gifts. Xia Meng was shocked for a moment. He sneered. Well, let's see if a bumpkin from an ordinary sect of the realm can produce anything to compete with my youth-retaining elixir, Blood Emperor Puppet and Magic Cloud Valley Relic. Chapter 9:19. The battle has started. Chapter 9:19. The battle has started. Silence descended in the drill ground. Everyone waited with bated breath for the reveal of Jian Wushuang's 3 wedding gifts. Jian Wushuang didn't disappoint. He flipped his palm and showed a nearly clear jade bottle. There was a light purple elixir in it. Unlike general elixirs, this elixir wasn't fragrant and had an odorous scent. The experts frowned when they saw the elixir. This elixir is called crepe myrtle elixir. Jian Wushuang looked up at Emperor Leng. His voice rang out across the whole drill ground. Crepe myrtle elixir? Many people were confused as they had never heard about it or were aware of its function. However, Emperor Leng seemed shocked. Leng Wushuang, who was sitting beside Emperor Leng, appeared stunned as well. She looked at Wushuang. Jian Wushuang continued, more than 200 years ago, I was a 3-clawed Blood Eagle Guard in the Royal Guard. I went through a Hell level assignment with the other 3 3-clawed Blood Eagle Guards. Hell level? Everyone was taken aback. The Blood Eagle Guard was well known in the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land. They had heard of some of their assignments too. Hell level assignment. Hell level assignments were fraught with danger. There had been few such assignments in the history of the Kingdom Tang of the Eastern Land. The reason for that Hell level assignment was because the princess had been badly poisoned. To control the poison, a natural treasure called Yin Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit was needed to refine the crepe myrtle elixir. I went to an impasse in the Eternal World with other 3-clawed Blood Eagle Guards. After surmounting numerous obstacles, I was the only one who survived and retrieved the Yin Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit. Now, I present the crepe myrtle elixir, refined by that Yin Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit, as my first wedding gift. Jian Wushuang's voice was as loud as thunder and it rang out across the drill ground. Of course, he had mentioned the impasse without talking about the stellar fog sea. The stellar fog sea had been a mystery for a long time. If it were public knowledge that he had emerged from it alive, it would inevitably cause some trouble. Understanding dawned on the spectators. The crepe myrtle elixir might not be very valuable, but it had been retrieved at great cost. The sincerity of the gift was incomparable. As for the function of the crepe myrtle elixir. Seated at the throne in the middle of the stand, Emperor Leng raised his eyebrows. Looking at Jian Wushuang, he thought to himself, he really came out of the stellar fog sea and got the Yin Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit. How did he manage to do it? Leng Wushuang was trembling slightly. He went to the stellar fog sea for me? Her emotions were in turmoil. More than 200 years ago, Emperor Leng had sent some experts to the stellar fog sea to get the Yin Yang Dragon Phoenix fruit for her. However, she hadn't known that Jian Wushuang had been one of them. The stellar fog sea. It was the impasse from which no one came out alive. Jian Wushuang, Emperor Leng finally said, your first gift is indeed quite useful for Shuang'er. Everyone was amazed with Emperor Leng's acknowledgement. For a fleeting moment, Xia Meng looked upset. It's just opportunistic. Even if his crepe myrtle elixir is more useful than my youth-retaining elixir, it's just the first gift. Everyone stared at Jian Wushuang as he smiled and took out his second gift. The second gift was also an elixir in a jade bottle. However, there were 5. Distinguished Emperor Ling, elders. You are all very knowledgeable. I believe you can recognize these 5 elixirs without my introduction. Jian Wushuang took one out and placed it on his palm. The experts on the stand stared at the light yellow elixir. Is it the Bodhi Dan? Yes, it's Bodhi Dan. I've seen it before. It has the same color and same fragrance. I'm sure. The legendary Bodhi Dan. Experts on the stand were agitated. Some of them even stood up. Bodhi Dan, the elixir that could allow an Eternal Realm expert to easily become a Dao Master. It was a legendary elixir in the Eternal World. It was almost extinct. One Bodhi Dan had a 90% chance of turning an Eternal Realm expert into a Dao Master. 5 Bodhi Dan meant 5 Dao Masters. These were human Dao Masters, unlike Xia Mang's Blood Emperor puppets. Human experts were obviously more valuable than puppet fighters. Jian Wushuang's first gift, the crepe myrtle elixir, might have been only slightly better than the youth-retaining elixir. The 5 Bodhi fruits were undoubtedly far better than the 2 Blood Emperor puppets. I am very grateful to Predecessor Alchemy Master for the Bodhi Dawn. Jian Wushuang looked up at Alchemy Master. He had 5 Bodhi fruits, with which it was already difficult to refine 4 Bodhi Dawn. As the number 1 alchemist, Alchemy Master had refined 5. The success rate was 100%. Seeing the 5 Bodhi Dawn, Xia Yu from the Xia clan became upset. How is it possible? How did he get the Bodhi Dan? And he even brought 5? Xia Mang looked terrible, but calmed down soon. Though your second gift is more precious than my Blood Emperor puppets, don't forget my third gift. The third gift from our Xia clan is an enormous treasure house. It's invincible. Xia Mang was absolutely confident with their third gift. So what if the crepe myrtle elixir had a better function than his youth-retaining elixir? So what if 5 Bodhi fruits were more precious than his 2 Blood Emperor puppets? The most important and valuable gift they had prepared was the third one. It had outshone all the gifts from the others, combined. What did someone from an ordinary sect of the realm have that could compete with that? Jian Wushuang didn't mind Xia Mang at all. He looked at the experts and took a deep breath. He took out the third gift that had been prepared by his master, which had totally shocked Gu King and himself. Chapter 9:20, The Splendid Magic Weapon Pavilion. Chapter 9:20, The Splendid Magic Weapon Pavilion. The expectant crowd watched on as Jian Wushuang delivered the third wedding gift. There was an abrupt buzzing sound as a splendid palace materialized out of thin air in the void of the drill ground. Mighty and majestic aura emanated from the palace, drawing everyone's attention to it. Jian Wushuang declared, "This is the third wedding gift, the Magic Weapon Pavilion." Jian Wushuang's voice reverberated in all directions as everyone present looked at the pavilion with some skepticism. Magic Weapon Pavilion? What's the use of such a pavilion? Did anyone notice that the pavilion was taken out from his interspatial ring? Noise from the chatter echoed through the drill ground. Most of the comments reflected the doubts and suspicion of the crowd. In the upper stand, the top experts furrowed their brows as they glanced at the pavilion. This pavilion was taken out from his interspatial ring. So, it's a treasure that he can carry with him at all times. It's rare, but it can't be regarded as extremely precious. An expert blurted. The third wedding gift from Jian Wushuang is a portable pavilion. This pavilion can barely compare with a peak-level emperor weapon. It may be more valuable, but as the third wedding gift, it's not enough. I thought he would produce a more valuable wedding gift, but this is mediocre. Xia Yu mocked. Xia Yu had initially been surprised at the appearance of the magic weapon pavilion in the drill ground. He laughed out loud. Jian Wushuang, this is your third wedding gift? A pavilion? This pavilion is less valuable than Bodhi Dan. Are you making fun of Emperor Ling by presenting it as your last wedding gift? Despite Xia Mang's sarcastic words, Jian Wushuang maintained his composure and he continued to smile. This is the wedding gift my master had carefully prepared for me. Today, let me open your eyes. Jian Wushuang's eyes were lit up with energy. In the upper stand, Jian Wushuang's senior brother Shui Lingtian's gaze intensified. It begins. With a serious expression on his face, Jian Wushuang stared at the huge pavilion in front of him and focused his thoughts on it. Open! The pavilion opened wide in response to Jian Wushuang's command. The interior of the pavilion was revealed. Xia Mang, who had been ridiculing Jian Wushuang a minute ago, froze. In the upper stand, Xia Yu was also taken aback. The spectators in the drill ground were stunned at the scene inside the magic weapon pavilion. Within the magic weapon pavilion, there were dense and innumerable exhibition shelves, each piled with countless magic weapons in a neat and orderly fashion. There were various kinds of magic weapons. It held all treasures one could imagine, like swords, broadswords, axes, spears, magic weapons, and so on. Most importantly, these magic weapons possessed extremely tough and strong auras. The auras had different characters, ranging from hostile and brutal, dark and cold, and sacred. All of these weapons had reached Emperor weapon level. The magic weapon pavilion turned out to be a huge treasure vault filled with numerous Emperor weapons. It was composed entirely of countless Emperor weapons. Everyone was shocked. Jian Wushuang, who had remained standing in front of magic weapon pavilion, took a deep breath and opened his mouth slowly. His voice was cold, but every word resounded like the beat of a drum. Magic weapon pavilion contains innumerable Emperor weapons. This includes 2,631 sword Emperor weapons, 1,594 broadsword Emperor weapons, 1,423 spear Emperor weapons, 1,080 axe Emperor weapons, stick Emperor weapons. In total, there are 13,799 Emperor weapons. Counting the magic weapon pavilion, which is comparable to a peak Emperor weapon, there are exactly 13,800 Emperor weapons. This is the third wedding gift that I have specially prepared to marry Her Royal Highness. At the end of his declaration, Jian Wushuang's voice was close to a roar. His hands were also tightly clenched, and his eyes were filled with unprecedented energy and light. A total of 13,800 magic weapons, and all were Emperor weapons. He believed that his incredible wedding gift would override all others in the selection ceremony. Xia Clan, Magic Cloud Valley. I will see if the so-called Magic Cloud Valley relics are superior to my 13,800 Emperor weapons. Jian Wushuang's heart was howling. There was dead silence. An eerie silence had descended in the drill ground. The only sound that could be heard was that of the accelerated pulses of the experts present. The experts present stared at the massive magic weapons in the magic weapon pavilion. Shock turned to panic, and then to fury and madness. More than half of the top experts in the stand couldn't help standing up. Even Xia Yu from Xia Clan stood up. Jian Wushuang's words continued to echo in their heads. 13,800. They were not merely 8,000 divine weapons or eternal weapons, but 13,800 Emperor weapons. Those were precious Emperor weapons, which would be highly valued even by Dao masters. They had also realized that many of the Emperor weapons had reached advanced level or even peak level. 13,800. It was the sheer number of weapons that made all present tremble in shock and disbelief. This was an unprecedented and unbelievable wedding gift. Everyone was stunned by the number of Emperor weapons in the magic weapon pavilion. All were stupefied. But this was normal. After all, when Shui Lingtian received this wedding gift, even the experienced Bone King who had wandered around with 8-star Imperial God was freaking out. All of you are surprised. Which king gloated and hummed in the body of Jian Wushuang. He was pleased at the reaction of the crowd. He was certain that Jian Wushuang's wedding gift was unparalleled enough to shock the whole world. Chapter 9:21 Crush at Wedding Gifts. Chapter 9:21 Crush at Wedding Gifts. It was silent in the drill ground. The huge, sacred magic weapon pavilion was quietly suspended in the void. Aura from the magic weapons within emanated from it. The horrible number, 138,000, echoed in everyone's mind. The experts in the stand had a wealth of experience and soon recovered from their shock. After coming back to themselves, those in the stand were in a frenzy. How is it even possible? Oh God! 138,000 magic weapons? If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I would never believe it. It's incredible that someone can collect such a vast number of magic weapons for a wedding gift. 138,000 Emperor weapons. I really doubt that he brought all the Emperor weapons in the eternal world here. It's too incredible. There were gasps of horror. As experienced as the experts were, they had never witnessed such a shocking scene. Even Emperor Lung found it hard to restrain his shock. How is it possible? So many Emperor weapons. If Tang of the East spared no effort, we probably won't be able to obtain 1 or 2/10 of these weapons. How did he achieve this? Emperor Ling muttered as he speculated on a possible reason. Is it from Stellar Fog Sea? The Stellar Fog Sea is so mysterious that no one has emerged from it alive for a long time. No one knows what is inside. Jian Wushuang managed to survive the Stellar Fog Sea. It is probable that he gained a great opportunity there and obtained an incredible number of Emperor weapons. As for that Bodhi-Dan, it is probably from the Stellar Fog Sea too. Yes, definitely from Stellar Fog Sea. Emperor Lin confirmed his guess inwardly. Jian Wushuang had indeed gained a great opportunity in the Stellar Fog Sea. The Bodhi fruit to refine the Bodhi-Dan was from Stellar Fog Sea. But the magic weapon pavilion had nothing to do with Stellar Fog Sea. This magic weapon pavilion had been given by his mysterious master Xian, and the 138,000 Emperor weapons were also from Xian. This was a big gift from his master. Seated at the long table, Xueling Tian smiled slightly and looked around. You guys, what do you think of the third wedding gift prepared by my junior brother? Incredible. The master from Dongyan clan said, 138,000 Emperor weapons. Even if Dongyan clan sells all it owns, it cannot compare to 1% of this magic weapon pavilion. Master Bloodsaber, how did your junior brother get all these Emperor weapons? All eyes turned to Xueling Tian. They were curious about how Jian Wushuang had managed to obtain such a huge number of Emperor weapons. Was this opportunity in defiance of the natural order? Don't bother with how my junior brother got these Emperor weapons. I just want to know how this gift compares with that offered by Xia Mang from Xia clan? Xueling Tian asked with a slight smile on his face. The experts in the stand were in a daze for a second and exchanged glances. They were too embarrassed to respond in Xia Yu's presence, but the answer was obvious. Jian Wushuang and Xia Mang had each prepared 3 wedding gifts. Xia Mang's gifts were indeed extremely precious, especially the third Magic Cloud Valley relic which had surpassed all others in the convention. However, compared to Jian Wushuang's gifts, Xia Mang's gifts were inferior. The disparity was immense. For the first wedding gift, Xia Mang had offered youth-retaining elixir. Jian Wushuang had provided crepe myrtle elixir. Youth-retaining elixir and crepe myrtle elixir were of equal rarity and value. Youth-retaining elixir stopped aging for female cultivators. This was an attractive feature, but it had no truly useful functions. On the other hand, crepe myrtle elixir could inhibit the toxin in Lung Wushuang's body. Besides, Jian Wushuang had overcome great obstacles and retrieved it at great risk to himself. This love alone was something that Xia Mang could not compare with. The disparity between the second wedding gifts was more obvious. The 2 Blood Emperor puppets given by Xia Mang owned Dao Master level strength, but they were merely puppet fighters. Bodhi-Dan offered by Jian Wushuang could produce human Dao Master experts. There were also 5 Bodhi-Dan, and therefore potentially 5 human Dao Masters. And as for the third wedding gift, Xia Mang had provided 4 tokens that granted access to the Magic Cloud Valley relics. To obtain the treasures from Magic Cloud Valley, effort, cost and time would need to be spent by the bearer of the tokens. Furthermore, only 50 or 60% of treasures may be retrieved. The Magic Weapon Pavilion offered by Jian Wushuang required no further cost or effort by the recipient of the gift. Most importantly, while the Magic Cloud Valley relics held a large number of treasure opportunities, their combined value did not even come close to the value of the Magic Weapon Pavilion. A total of 138,000 Emperor weapons. This number was really incredible. It was estimated that there was nothing in the entire Eternal World which could match the value of these magic weapons. Naturally, the Magic Cloud Valley relics paled in comparison to them. So the 3 wedding gifts from Jian Wushuang and Xia Meng were compared. None of the wedding gifts from Xia Meng were comparable to those presented by Jian Wushuang. In the stand, Xia Yu's face flushed. He, Xia Clan, had spent millions of years searching for the Magic Cloud Valley relics. He had intended for the gift to shock the selection ceremony. He had not expected that Jian Wushuang's wedding gifts that would be much more precious than the Magic Cloud Valley relics. This was completely beyond his and everyone's expectations. A small boy from a remote domain and an ordinary sect had presented wedding gifts that far surpassed their Xia's. If news of this spread, their first overlord clan, Xia Clan in the Tang of the East, would inevitably become a laughingstock. So what if he has better wedding gifts than Xia Clan? The selection ceremony doesn't just look at wedding gifts. It considers talents and strengths too. We'll see who has the last laugh. Xia Yu snorted coldly. Chapter 922, A Competition of Strength. Chapter 922, A Competition of Strength. The experts in the stand nodded at Xia Yu's words. Indeed, wedding gifts was only one aspect of the selection ceremony. Strength mattered too. Moreover, the wedding gifts was only an external factor and did not speak for the ability of a person. Someone who was lucky and had no abilities could still obtain treasures that others couldn't reach. Many people felt that Jian Wushuang had probably lucky to get Bodhidan and Magic Weapon Pavilion. In the drill ground, Xia Meng had recovered from his shock. A grimace remained on his face. As he glanced at Jian Wushuang, coldness emerged in his eyes. Jian Wushuang, I have no idea how you got the Magic Weapon Pavilion. The strength and talent competition is next. This totally depends on personal strength. I shall see how you can compete with me. Xia Meng had utmost confidence in his strength. He was recognized as the first genius in the Eternal World. He was fully deserving of the title of first Eternal Realm expert in the Eternal World. Over the years, many strong Eternal Realm experts had challenged him but lost. Without a doubt, the strength competition was totally different from the wedding gifts competition. From his seat in the middle of the stand, Emperor Lung looked down. The strength and talent competition is next. As for the competition rules. Before Emperor Lung had finished his sentence, Dongyan Chong from Dongyan clan in the drill ground took the lead. He stood outside and said respectfully, Emperor Lung, the strength competition need not be so troublesome. Oh. Emperor Lung glanced at Dongyan Chong. Dongyan Chong continued gravely, as we all know, Xia Meng is well known as the first Eternal Realm expert in the Eternal World, and also the first genius. In terms of strength, he should be the strongest. Since this selection ceremony aims to select the strongest person, there is no need to waste time. If any one of us has doubts about Xia Meng's strength, just challenge him. Anyone who defeats him wins the competition. I know very well that I can't beat Xia Meng, so for this round of competition, I will just give up. Many people around Dongyan Chong shared his sentiments. Unlike the first round competition on wedding gifts, no suspense existed for the second round competition on strength. It was widely recognized that Xia Meng was the first Eternal Realm expert in the Eternal World. Even other geniuses with extraordinary strength not on the same level as him. What do you think, Xia Meng? Emperor Ling said as he looked down. I don't mind. Xia Meng laughed. How about you? Emperor Ling looked at Jian Wushuang, Ku Yi and others. They nodded their assent. So that's it. If any one of you has any doubts about Xia Mang's strength, just challenge him. If not, we'll take it that you have given up. Emperor Ling said. As Emperor Ling finished his words, all the geniuses, apart from Jian Wushuang, looked in Xia Mang's direction. Like Dong Yanchong, more than half of them had no intention of challenging Xia Mang. The rest of them were hesitant. Finally, a long-haired man with a saber stepped out. This long-haired man was the personal disciple of Deep Sea Palace Master, Li Tianqiu. Li Tianqiu appeared in front of Xia Mang with a cold and indifferent face and shocking killing intent. I have long heard that Master Mubai of Xia Clan is the first eternal realm in the eternal world. It is a pity that we had no chance to meet previously. Since we have that opportunity today, we should have a good fight. Besides, since I set foot on the 6 steps of Eternal Realm thousands of years ago, I have encountered many Eternal Realm top experts but never lost a fight. Let's see if I'm defeated today. Li Tianqiu said coldly. As you wish, Xia Mang said with a slight smile. There was absolute confidence in his words and behavior. Just go ahead. Humph. Li Tianqiu was very decisive. With a cold snort, he started to attacks. With a rapid wraith-like move, he leapt forward. The void before Xia Mang was suddenly broken and a strong wind swept over. When Li Tianqiu's body appeared, the saber he had carried behind him appeared in his hand. Aggression emanated from him. Swish! A black saber shadow pierced forward. Xia Mang had been standing quietly looking at Li Tianqiu's slash. When the ghost-like saber shadow approached him, a faint smile showed on his lips. He slapped his hand in front of him. This slap was as light as cloud and wind. However, its impact had a horrible, earth-crushing power which forced Li Tianqiu to retreat. What? Li Tianqiu was shocked. He had not expected his slash to be so easily blocked by Xia Mang. He stepped back, trembling. No wonder he is the first eternal realm in the eternal world. He is truly strong. In that case, Li Tianqiu unleashed his full strength. A vast black fog surged violently upwards from his body and expanded to the surroundings. In a very short time, it had developed into a huge black ocean. It covered most of drill ground and obscured Li Tianqiu's figure. At the sight of this scene, the experts on the stand sighed. They turned and looked at a black-robed bearded old man who wore a cold expression on his face. This was Li Tianqiu's master, the Deep Sea Palace Master. Deep Sea Palace Master, this disciple of yours is quite good. At such a young age, he has cultivated your unique secret skill to such a high level. It seems that he has fully mastered Chapter 1 of Spiritual Sea Realm and carved out his own Tao. He is not far from being a Tao Master. Deep Sea, congratulations on having such a good disciple. Unmoved by the praise showered on him, Deep Sea Palace Master responded with a cold snort. My disciple's strength is good, but compared with Xia Mang, he has a long way to go. I think that slap from Xia Mang has shown part of his own Tao. And in my opinion, that should be creation-level Tao, but it was not perfect. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.